Hello, Internet. It's Sunday, the 17th of December. It's a podcast. And as you won't be able to tell by the fact that I'm saying things, Dan is not here. Well, not physically also here. He just doesn't exist in any segment of this podcast. Instead, Rob's here, so there's that. But instead of Dan...
Hi.
Instead of Dan, we've also got Kippers.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. It's been so long.
Yes, it has.
I don't remember when the last time Kippers was in our podcast was.
Was it well over a year ago? Was it the one with Jammy in it as well?
Jammy was in it.
There was one with Jammy in.
Well,
and he tried to make a talk about
the
COD.
The thing is, all I remember is he talked about Call of Duty, which tells you absolutely nothing about when that podcast was.
Yeah, that's true.
Or what year.
Well, it must have been Black Ops 3, I would have thought.
Maybe. You would have thought. Like, which
because I didn't buy the one before. I didn't buy the one after that.
Ah, sure. Yeah, you might be right. But then it could have also just been Advanced Warfare, or it could have been...
Well, yeah. But that would have been like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably not been that long. But then it has, because we've gone over the footage and the...
We've gone over the footage!
Yeah.
Not footage at all.
And we're several years behind doing the outtake reel.
Yes. Did you upload one of those yet, by the way?
God, no.
Yeah, well, good. We've actually got one waiting to be uploaded at this point.
Yeah, we do, actually. At least one. We might have 2.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
That'll be our Christmas upload, I guess.
That'll be the specials. Special podcast content.
Because as it turns out, this is going to be the last podcast before Game of the Year, I guess.
Mm. And indeed. Because awards have started happening early, as they do.
Well, not that early. I mean, it's mid-December.
It's
about as late as you could leave it, really.
It's not the end of the year, though.
Yeah, but people want to actually be able to, go home at Christmas. Unlike us, who don't have anything better to do, really.
Plus, there isn't really anything coming out anymore.
I suppose. Well, apart from, PUBG.
Well, yeah, but that's already out on PC.
Yeah, but the official version...
Yeah, is it, though?
But haven't they said, the version 1 release will be the launch of the new map? Fairly significant updates. And maybe vaulting.
Well, you can do that already in the test server.
Yeah. But, maybe that will make it to the 1.0.
Well, they always said that they were, planning on coming out this year. And, we always thought it was nah, they're not actually going to manage that, are they? And if they do at this point, it will be, a completely token gesture, where it'll just be we just slapped 1.0 on the version number and that's it.
Isn't it, is it out already now, or is it in a couple of days? It's out on
Xbox now.
Oh, but it's in preview program on Xbox.
Yeah, same as PC.
Yeah, so it's not strictly out.
It's not going to be, I don't think, for a while because the game is so bad still.
Yeah,
is that your professional opinion that it's so bad?
I hear that the Xbox regular version is real terrible.
Well, the game itself's fine. It's just the graphics, the optimizations, and it's just terrible.
Well, the graphics aren't going to get better because it's basically another free one.
I did read you can get at the PC options menu.
It's
still in
through
the Xbox version of the code.
Yeah,
so you can tinker around with it.
So you can make it run even worse by turning things up.
Yeah.
The Xbox One X version is actually meant to be not bad.
I don't think there's... Well, given the power of that thing, I would be surprised if they weren't, hitting targets on that. If they weren't just doing the PC version at 60.
Well, it doesn't run at 60 on Xbox One X.
On the X?
No, because it's CPU bound. It's got the same CPU as the Xbox One.
Oh, they only went GPU crazy on. Oh, I did not know that. I thought it was a straight upgrade across the board.
No, it's got a slightly overclocked CPU, I think. But other than that, it's just same CPU.
Just raw GPU.
And maybe they didn't want the 2 Xbox versions to run at different frame rates just from balance.
Yeah,
I guess.
And obviously, the games still run on both consoles, so that makes it a lot easier. Where if the CPUs are the same, I imagine.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's probably true. There are probably fewer compatibility issues if the X is running a game that isn't tuned for X. You know what I mean?
Also, maybe they just couldn't be bothered to tune for X. Maybe they're like, damn it, Microsoft, we said we were going to come out on your platform, then you made this whole new console, and we can't be bothered to deal with that, so fine it.
So I accidentally jumped right into it. This is a podcast about video games.
I guess. I mean, do you want me to go back to a very brief bit of kitchen bitching? Because I've got typically the never-ending story of the kettle continues.
God. And how no kettle satisfy Zach
No.
unless it's the cheapest possible plastic cylindrical tube.
Well, maybe. I've yet to see one of those in like a kitchen environment to see how that actually turns out.
That isn't running distilled water. Also a key point.
Well, I've seen kettles like when I'm, in university shared kitchens, you tend to get shitty kettles like that. And it's like, those seem fine, but that's not in, like, your house, I guess. You're not exposed to that noise constantly.
Apparently, I didn't drink hot drinks when I was at uni, so I have no recollection of a shared kettle
Yes,
experience.
you didn't drink hot drinks at all for years. So,
No.
Like, that hasn't been a problem for you until recently.
It's all Naomi's fault.
But
So
yeah.
I've started burning joules of energy to heat water.
To heat water. But yeah, it's like, what would you do if you purchased a kettle that was bad in some way? It's like, do you just live with it, or do you do what has now happened and devolve into hot kettle mods and life hacks?
Hot kettle mods. What are these, like
What-
tea cozies for kettles?
First of all, what defines a bad kettle?
It's hell
Oh, God.
loud is basically the main problem with this one.
If it doesn't make the kettle bad, surely.
Well,
We've had
At a
this fight
certain-
so many
Okay.
times.
at a certain point, a kettle that causes water to boil is technically not a bad kettle.
Yeah.
It has done the job you paid for it to do.
Yeah.
But that's not how this works.
Okay. I'll stay out of that then.
Yeah, you probably should.
I suppose if Zach is probably the one person that I really want him to do like a what kettle review or something like that. So
Yeah.
he'd be the one person to give star ratings to kettles.
The witch kettle review.
Yeah, something like that.
Exactly. Precision kettle engineering. But yeah, so now we've decided apparently to mod this kettle, which is because apparently
Who mods a kettle?
theoretically the one of the
I've just got images of them like going all underground on it, putting like a
Neon.
neon rim
neons,
around the
exactly.
bottom.
It's close, but not quite. Because like theoretically,
If you put a horn on it, so when it's done, it goes.
that would be an awesome kettle mod. But theoretically, the problem is that because it's quite loose on its stand, when it boils, it rattles around, which makes it noisier.
Oh, okay. The rattle I can understand being a prop. That's a sign of a bad.
Supposedly,
kettle.
although I don't think it actually, well, because of this mod and how it turned out, I don't think it's actually that's causing most of the noise. But the mod was to cut up a kitchen glove into a circle and mount it on the bottom base plate as like an extra layer of dampening between the kettle and the base. So when it wobbles, it doesn't rattle as hard against plastic.
Wait, so you went and bought another glove? And...
Well, no, it was old kitchen glove
Okay.
that was left over, so it's just like, you might as well cut that up and shove it in there. And that's the kettle mods. It's just like, it helps, but it doesn't help that much.
It's not like we're not talking like a marigold. We are talking like a,
I mean,
like a
it
heat
could have been a
resistant
marigold.
glove.
Like it's a rubber glove of some description.
Oh, so it is a rubber glove. Oh, okay.
hard to tell.
I assumed you'd use like a set of mitt, like a cut up bit of mitt. So like you've got
It's like a lot of padding.
Yeah, a lot of padding there.
Well, the trouble is, then it might be too thick to actually like seat it correctly on the contacts.
I guess.
At
yeah.
a certain point, it's like how much can you get away with? So yeah, I think it helps, but maybe not that much. And I'm just like, this is still a bad kettle. And like making terrible mods to it isn't really like, that's just making it technically worse in some ways. Where you're forcing bad design to be even worse by adding your own bad design.
Because you have problems with spouts as well. What would your ideal spout mod be?
I don't know. That's a difficult question of physics. That is very like what is the actual best shape for a spout? You'd have to do all kinds of weird physics tests on that kind of
I suppose
thing.
it depends how you personally pour, right? Are you an aggressive pourer? Or do you like to just dribble it out and not have the dribbles run down the side of the kettle?
Yeah, that's one side of definitely bad design, where the water runs back along the edge of the spout. Because that means
Razor spout plus max edition for the most aggressive pour. You want your coffee fast? We've got the spout for you.
Why not a water injector? You press a button and
it's just pressurized,
Yeah.
instantly fill the cup, but maybe shoots the contents of the cup out everywhere.
Yeah, you need specialised cups with lids, and you just put the little injector
Yeah.
in the top in a perfectly fitted thing.
Perfectly fitted hole, it just goes zoop and fills
Yeah.
up.
You have
the
to
future.
tell the machine I need about 3/4 of a cup for this because the other quarter has got like tea bag in it or something. Just go.
Yeah, that would be the problem. Like, you wouldn't really be able to put milk in first in that situation because if it had a preset amount, it would overfill it.
But then technically, aren't kettles sort of like if you wanted that? Isn't a kettle not the best? Do you want one of those like what are they called? Like you can get like heatery things that like heat as the water comes through it.
Yeah.
Like, what they've got a name, haven't they? Like they're not keeping hot water. They just sort of
Instant
hot. Yeah, hot on demand.
I've got one of those at work.
Do you know what it's called now?
Called Hot Tap.
A hot tap. Okay.
Amazing branding.
Because I know there's that one you can get for your house, like cooker or something, isn't it? Where there's like one that's got like a kettle tap built into
The
it.
question about those is like, do they actually get to boiling though? Because I feel like a lot of those are meant to be just for hot water.
Yeah, they're like coffee temperature. They're
Yeah.
not like tea temperature generally.
Because obviously boiling water has its own whole physical problems of boiling. Some difficult design problems that haven't been solved because we're too hooked into just having a big metal plate and putting water on it until it gets hot. That's how kettles work.
I wonder what credentials you need to sign up to become the Witch Kettle Reviewer. Like, have we just found you a job?
I don't think... Well, no, because I'm sure that kind of thing requires you to, like... Well,
I mean, you've got to
depends
have
how...
a writing portfolio for sure.
Well,
right?
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably depends on, like, how qualitative your reviews are going to be, because it's like, if you're talking about, like, actual design, like, you have to know, like, or, like, ergonomics or whatever, you actually kind of have to know design principles for that, I'm sure, to actually have a really detailed review.
I mean, do you? I don't know if I've ever read a review that talks about the exact principle of a thing and goes like, well, this is bad because it doesn't follow Stan's ergonomic guide to
I'm sure
curves.
they wouldn't directly reference the standards or whatever.
Yeah,
They'd probably just say that it's bad because of... They'd say
but
it's
anyone
bad
could say
because of
that.
ergonomics, but you don't know whether that's, you know, like, how much knowledge do they have about ergonomics?
I think at
Are
the
they
end of
just
the day, like,
bullshitting?
perhaps ergonomics isn't the right thing to be talking about because ergonomics is just, does it feel nice, right? Is it actually comfortable?
But that is
in
a
the
whole
hand?
situation. Like, your
Yeah.
house is ergonomically bad because your light switches are behind doors.
Well,
That's a situation of ergonomics being badly designed.
yeah, that's legit. Yeah, I can agree with
Not
that.
all of them.
Well, not all of them, no. Just
But
some
some
of them.
of them. Yeah.
The fact that some of them are, I mean, you know, we've discussed your living room's door situation before, but the fact
Yeah,
that it's a
and
double
it-
door is just a bad design in itself.
Well, the double door's not so bad. It's the double door in combination with the windows and the fact that no one wall is the right sort of length.
Every wall has some obstacle attached to
Yeah.
it, apart from that one. I guess.
Which is the only wall where we could put bookcases because it's the only one big enough to put bookcases on. Yeah, so it's,
So your house is just ergonomically bad, basically. As modern houses tend to be.
you're not wrong. They're not. They're too complicated.
So anyway, back to video games, I guess. Let's move on from dumb random bullshit.
Kettlegate.
Yeah.
Kettlegate. Well, the Kettlegate never ends.
Well, there'll be a long period of nothing happening at this point, unless this kettle suddenly develops an even worse fault somehow.
I feel like we need to throw some sort of party if we ever find a kettle Zach approves of.
How many kettles have you used?
What, in the recent memory?
No,
Yes.
like ever. What's your? No, I want to know your full kettle history. Like, what is your? Like, we're doing this witch interview here. Like. So, what rates are good?
Like, what's
Like,
the
what is
best
the
kettle
benchmark
you've ever
kettle?
had?
Well, like, I wouldn't remember it if it was good. It's the classic problem where, like, you don't remember something unless it's actually, like, causing you a problem, and then it becomes a problem, and then you recognise it. When a good kettle is good, it's just like, oh, it's just a kettle. You're not thinking about it.
I think this is your calling in life. to teach us.
I mean, recently, as I've told on the podcast, we've had kettle experiments because of my mum working at a charity shop. Occasionally kettles appear, and it's like, let's bring those home and see if those are any good. And it's like, nope, still bad. Take it back, it's too noisy. Noise seems to be the main problem, and that's not actually a thing that bothers me. It's just other people are annoyed by noise.
Okay, that's a detail I didn't realise. I didn't realise that the loudness thing was not a problem
It's because I'm not in the room apart from when I'm boiling a kettle, and then I'm only there for like a minute and then I leave. Other people have to sit there and listen to that kettle several times a day, at least, I suppose. And in the mornings, supposedly morning noise is too loud when you've just woken up.
If you're the first person up, you mean you're the one making the coffee.
Yeah. I mean, judging by how loud your coffee grinder is, that would suck if you had to be in the room with that.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not like I put the coffee machine in the bedroom.
No, exactly.
It's like
Good,
then.
an alarm.
Although in fairness, yeah, it is loud enough that it functions well at waking us up, better than Gnome's multiple alarms.
From like literally the whole house away.
Yeah.
which tells you it's very loud.
I can't remember the last time I've heard your 6:30.
6 a.m.
6. Okay, there we go.
That's how much we've heard it, because it doesn't exist.
Although whatever you've got on your phone or radio at the moment is really irritating. Well, it's quite good
The best kind of alarm.
in the sense that, like, because
You
when I
want
was at
to
uni,
get up and turn it off immediately.
when I was at uni,
Mars Volta.
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
Oh.
that is. Okay, yeah.
I like
'cause
Mars Volta.
it sounds a little bit like a chip tune at first. It's got like a and then but it's so distorted and like horrible that it's kind of like I need to wake up. Because like when I was at uni, my equivalent was the start of The Concept of Love from Jet Set Radio Future.
Okay.
Because that first sound is quite piercing, right? That guitar. It's like I've got to get up. It's just like that's woken me right up.
For a long time, I don't even remember what it was, which is not helpful to this story, but I definitely had a music track as my alarm, which had like a long build-up.
Big Birds.
And it was like, it would start, you'd wake up and within the first 30 seconds of the song, it's like, oh, it's still quiet right now, but it's about to not be.
Right.
Maybe it's time to move.
So you're a bit prepped. Or you could just sit there getting ready with the drum kit ready to go. Oh, so what if you had like that Phil Collins track, like the Glass and a Half full production? Where's it?
I think that might be too much.
The Air
of
Tonight, or whatever it's called. Yes. What? Yeah, but that's quite calm, even when the drum beat kicks in. So it's like, but it's like you got the nice, quite a lengthy build up until the until the gorilla happens.
Yeah. Got that bad, but
In fairness, for me at the moment, the best alarm clock is having something on your wrist that vibrates.
sure. I mean, having something physically in contact with your body probably would wake you up.
Yeah, it works pretty well.
Or, you know, just have a cat jump on you.
Although it's also the easiest thing to snooze.
True.
Because it's right there, you just go snooze. And then sleep for like another hour. Well, waking up every 10 minutes.
Yeah, naturally. The classic snooze procedure.
Yeah. You end up in the snooze loop. You snooze, you snooze.
You snooze, you snooze. Okay then. So now let's go back to video games, I
Oh, I
suppose.
don't know. What's been happening to Kip? It's been a long time.
What has
There
been
could-
happening
there
to
could
Kippers?
be-
Has Kippers been playing video games, perchance? I think he probably has.
I'm sure Kippers has some house grouse.
House grouse.
That's the equivalent of kitchen bitchin', but you extend it out to the entire house. It's the house grouse.
The whole house.
Yeah.
The fact I built a bed in my bedroom without closing the door, and now I can't permanently close the door because it doesn't fit.
Okay, that's a problem. Can it not? Does it not like slide over across the
No,
one wall? Or
No.
Wow.
Must be quite a large bed then.
Yes. King size.
Yeah, that house was not designed for king size.
No. Clearly.
Our house isn't designed for king size.
No, also.
I think we've lost Gnome.
That was good.
It's a good thing it's just the two of you in that place, really, that you don't actually have to
Yeah, well,
really
of
close
course.
doors and be that private.
Well, of course, because it's a modern house, the light switch is behind the
Yeah.
door.
Yeah.
So now we have to reach and like lean as like and try and get the light switch because it's behind the door that's partially
Can't you just
open.
get going? Oh, of course, the door's stuck open. Right,
Yeah.
right. I thought I'm wrong. I thought
Yeah.
the door can't open.
Yeah, no, it's permanently open.
Can you swap the door around?
We probably could, yeah.
But do you want to risk doing DIY of that magnitude?
Or, you know,
someone
when-
else to do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
If you're not that worried, just take the door off permanently. Put like one of those gypsy curtains in.
Make it really real fancy.
Yeah.
You see the cat
Beaded
there?
curtain. Good times.
Oh yeah, Dylan the
Yeah.
cat versus beaded curtains. That would be
You'd
entertaining.
just be playing with it the entire time.
like-
Well, he'd
Three
be
in the
playing with
morning.
it for like 5 minutes and then it'd be destroyed. It wouldn't actually last
Until he can find an appropriate part of it, he can lick.
with the whole thing. You can lick anything if you try hard enough.
More lessons. How do kettles taste? Lick the kettle.
Hot.
It tastes hot. I had the hoppiest beer known to man yesterday.
Good.
No,
No, but I figured that from what was going on in your...
it's a bit too
Stomach
much.
region.
I don't even know what it was called. We bought it because it had a can with a picture of a space rocket on it.
Also a good indication of potential gas output.
Yeah, I guess. And it was just too strong. You couldn't. You had like one. So sort of. I don't think I've ever had that sensation from a beer before, where it was a bit like having a lemon sour or something, where your face sort of implodes on itself. So we like, and that slightly camp noise comes out.
Of course.
And gnomes destroyed her foot. There you go. That's the other noise.
That's the other noise. Did someone say news?
News!
Smooth
Segue!
transitions.
The noise news. We've got some shows to talk about.
No, well, sort of, except not really the actual show part of the shows.
Well, no. So the main one to talk about, I suppose, is the Game Awards, because that actually had some trailers and reveals and stuff.
We're basically talking about the adverts in the show.
Yeah, basically.
As if we were watching the Super Bowl and talking about the actual Super Bowl adverts.
But they know what they're
that's
doing.
What you talk about.
Yeah, but they know what they're doing. They lean into that stuff heavily. They introduce the games as being the game reveals as being as much of a part of the show as the actual award giving. Although to the point where I can't remember what the award giving was.
Well, as ever with video games, most years, it's not really that much of a competition at a certain point.
I mean, there were some good ones. It's a strong year for gaming performances in terms of actors and stuff like that.
Well, even with the strike.
Even with the strike, yeah, because the Uncharted Lost Legacy cast, pretty much the two female leads were nominated. The girl from Hellblade won it, despite not being an actress.
Which also because of the strike, presumably.
That is quite the trial, isn't it? It's the best performance in video games.
What does that say
is
about
someone that
video game actors, though?
Well, I think that... Well, what does that say about this year? It kind of says that it wasn't a good year and they were just getting whatever nominations they could.
I suppose, yeah, because Ashley Birch wasn't really on the scene this year until Life is Strange prequel came back. Because then they revoiced it or something with her in the role that she had from the first Life is Strange. So, yes, stuff like that. And so, yeah. There's been no Nolan North action for a while.
What a shame.
There's been no Troy Baker action for a while.
No.
You gotta love those guys.
Oh, God, it's so annoying, hearing the same people in every game you play.
It did get a little much.
It's you just lose
But they are
interest.
very good.
Yeah, but it's you can't get into the game when you hear the same voices over and over again. It's it's that guy from that game and that game and that game.
Because there's another guy I think that does some of the Atlas stuff as well. Yeah, there's another voice that sounds a lot like Troy Baker that I often get confused for being Troy Baker, and he's in a lot of things as well. And there's a lot of very common voice actors in the industry, like Ashley Birch herself. Call out another one. It's she does an awful lot of roles, a lot of varied roles, as it turns out. I only really know her as Tiny Tina from Borderlands 2, but
yeah, everyone really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought it was funny, but I'm terrible at that was me. While I still thought internet meme humor was still pretty goddamn funny the whole time. It's still pretty funny.
5 years ago,
it was just too much. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it was better if you didn't get the DLC for Borderlands 2, where that character was used a lot more. If you just played regular Borderlands 2, played through it once, and only saw that bit once, it was probably okay.
Yeah, because it didn't seem overbearing. There wasn't that much of it.
No.
Right?
Apparently the DLC was much worse, though, for that situation.
And then Didn't Gearbox do that again with the Penguin character from Battleborn? He was just a meme factory as well.
Well, there's always a meme factory character in games like that nowadays. You gotta have someone who says the quotes. Even if the quotes then only become these after the fact.
No, that's not the same thing. A character could be made that has their own catchphrases, and they're a meme factory in the sense that they've created new memes.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You either have that, or you have the inverse, where
where they're just
says
spouting memes. Yeah, that's the best.
Or you do a weird mix-up, or kind of like the Scout, where it's he started off as just a character, but then when people were like, "Oh, he's like the ShamWow guy," then that it reintegrated itself into the character.
Yeah. They lent into it a little. It's oh yeah, well let's just add some of that. Swoosh. So what else happened?
What dumb trailers happened?
What dumb trailers happened? I need to actually get my notes because I can't read over
You
my
can't
shoulder.
read them from here.
No.
And I can't read them from here, obviously.
I mean, I probably could, but it's a bit awkward. Also, they're not actually that page that's on screen, so I haven't found this very well.
Very good. Open up your phone.
I'm trying to think what else won. There was a music one, but I can't remember what they might have given that to Zelda. No, well, Zelda
It can't
won.
have been Zelda, because Zelda doesn't really have music.
No.
I mean, atmospheric.
To some extent. I mean, it won Game of the Year
Of course.
at the Game Awards. And I don't know if we can say, of course, at this point in time. It's like our own Game of the Year stuff's still to come.
Well, yeah, well, you know what
I guess it's not a
gave it-
surprising choice.
No. You know what our Game of the Year fight is going to be, though? It's that and one other thing that we've talked about recently a lot.
Probably Mario.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we're in the difficult position where those are the only two games that we've all played.
But they're clearly the best games of this year anyway.
What did
Doesn't matter what ones we haven't played.
What about Splatoon? What about Nier?
You're not going to
What about-
possibly
what
manage
about-
to argue Splatoon 2 is
what
going to
about
win Game of
Hellblade?
the Year this year.
What?
Because
You've played tons of it as well.
Because as we've previously discussed, it's just Splatoon. Again.
Doesn't stop it being amazing. Amazing. Anyway,
Yeah.
here we go. I've got my notes. Back on track. So Battle of the Champions came out and they did a trailer for that.
What's that?
That's
It's the
the
Zelda DLC.
Zelda DLC. Speaking of
Oh,
Zelda,
right, yeah.
I was thinking I should maybe actually get...
I think you should,
But then the trouble with that is...
because it's not a terrible price.
Well,
for
yeah.
for that and the Master stuff.
Yeah, it
and-
wasn't too bad when I actually looked at it. But the trouble with that is that I'd be very tempted to play the whole game again in Master and then get to the DLC. So I'd be basically
right.
having to play the entire game and then the DLC.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go for it in that way. Definitely not. I would go at Battle of the Champions and then do the Master stuff for sure.
But the Master stuff is like the whole point of that is it changes stuff in the whole world.
Yeah,
Like you want to, but then in order to see that, you kind of have to play the whole game again.
yeah, all 100 odd hours or whatever it is.
I mean, theoretically, you could. It would be quicker the second time through. You wouldn't be dossing around so much. You'd be like, okay, I know how to fight. I know where to go.
I know what these
I know
cards are
the
about.
mechanisms of the shrines and how to find them.
Yeah, the opening portions of the game where you're quite weak might not be so.
Well, I mean, that's
So
where
tough.
the master thing would come in, though, because
Well, yeah.
the game would be harder, but you'd be more skilled,
Well,
so
that's-
maybe it'd balance out.
Well, that's one of the things about this Battle of the Champions DLC is apparently it makes the Great Plateau really tricky. Like
How does it? How does it change anything with the Great Plateau?
Because I think the entire section becomes like a heaven or hell thing, like from DMC, where it's one hit kills in both directions.
But why?
So
Why
it
is
comes
that?
from-
Why is that linked to the Ballad of Champions?
It's just something in it, apparently. It's a section in it because it's all in the world still.
Okay, but then why would you use the Great Plateau again? It's already quite full of stuff. It's
Yeah.
one of the most dense areas of the game, almost.
Almost, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just there. What else we got? We got a new From Software game, Kevin, that everyone thinks is Bloodborne 2.
Well, because they only know how to make two different games, and you've already had three, whatever.
They've had 3
Dark
Dark
Souls.
Souls, and they said they're not making any more of those. And you know, the teaser line was like Shadows die twice, so it's like it's probably a 2. What like Bloodborne 2? There we go.
Yes.
And also the teaser is actually incredibly thematically similar to the one they teased Bloodborne 1 with, which was just a close up of a thing that looked horrible.
And standard problem. Even if so they somehow make a new game, it's pretty much just going to be one of those games again.
Yeah.
Because that's just what they do.
That is what they do. The thing about From Software is weird because, that's their thing that they do now, but their history, before Demon Souls, is really quite varied.
Yeah.
So it's a bit, I don't know. It sure make money, I guess, but it's a little disappointing.
But surely they must be aware that
the bubble must be
people
burst,
are dropping
right?
off.
Yeah, I mean that's why Bloodborne happened.
Yeah.
Because the Dark Souls thing was starting to
Because
run
Dark
its
Souls
course.
2 was people were real pissed about that, and then Dark Souls 3 was
you've
they've sort of recovered, but it's just more Dark Souls.
Yeah. And you're ruining some of the mystery by actually
They were making too much story.
you're solving mysteries
Yeah.
that people enjoyed leaving as mysteries. And yeah, so they started to shoot themselves a little bit. So it's like, let's do something completely different. Let's make it
Completely different, but
the same game but faster. I guess. So that's happening. So only Dan. It's a shame Dan's not here really for this one because like he was the only one of us that played Firewatch.
Okay.
And was it Camposanto, the dev team? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So those guys are making another game, and it actually looks kind of interesting about two lady explorers going to Egypt and filming their escapades in some ruins. But except it seems like they're not really supposed to be there for some reason. And is it going to be another sort of slice of life storytelling, or is it actually going to be more to it this
I
time?
mean, it's going to be like the same game again, basically.
Yeah.
The same idea. You just walk around and look at things, and then story happens.
Yeah, it's hard not to look at the trailer and be sort of captivated by its art style in the same way that, Firewatch looked nice. There's a chunkiness to how things are rendered. It's got a good look to it. And this has the same sort of over-stylized look to it, except you can see another person.
Sure, not just a hand.
Yeah.
Or a dead body.
Or someone over the radio, I suppose, was Firewatch's thing. I don't know. I thought it looked kind of interesting. Just a quick reminder, Dreams is apparently still coming. Like, they finally showed some stuff.
Yeah, but it's not a game.
It's not a game, no, it's a creation kit, but quite... They might as well skip ahead a little bit, and they showed some of this at PSX as well, and it looks fairly... They haven't really showed how the creation tools work, only what they've made with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it looks like it's possible to make quite a lot of different stuff that look fairly different from one another, but yet still, that sort of that thing when you're doing things sort of right. They have a style to them, but yet they're all wildly different thematically. Like they've gone for like 3 biomes, like sci-fi, floaty, cloudy stuff, and film noir, which is kind of cool. But they all sort of animate in very sort of like, when people have animated the characters, a sort of janky way that I guess they originally demonstrated with like Move controllers when they were doing that puppetry thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, so they all look kind of funny, and it very much looks, that sort of the way the camera felt in Little Big Planet. It's still a Media Molecule game. You can see that, and the way things move seems to have that same floatiness that Little Big Planet does. It's one of those games where it's like, I would not, like Little Big Planet, I would not put the time in to learn those creation tools, but it'll be fun seeing what people make with this thing.
It'd be fun to see how many a million bombs fall on your head with sharks.
Endless bomb from the sky, or run across this thing while being chased by robo sharks. which were pretty fun, but there was a lot of them. It seemed like the one idea people enjoyed.
Well, it's because it was easy to make.
Yeah,
That's why that became the thing.
And everyone thought they could do better, I suppose.
Yes. Marginal tweaks.
We had a very long mini video movie thing for Death Stranding.
Which is probably going to be absolutely nothing to do with the game.
It continues to look just utterly, utterly bonkers. And I've got no idea what there's like. Okay, so now it seems like we know that there are invisible... The hands of invisible creatures that seem to be the bad guys that can age people rapidly, but you don't want to be taken away.
I don't think we know anything. This is probably just all metaphors.
There's a baby in a canister that seems to be like impact resistant because people fall a long way and that canister gets messed up and yet the baby inside's fine. It's a tough baby. Weird, like, parrot arm thing robot that likes to flap its face. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a flower, like with like 5 prongs or something that just sort of flaps its things around. They've got lights on them. And Kojima was wearing one of them at PSX for no good reason, just over his shoulder. God, and we don't even know how that game actually plays or anything.
Well, we don't know anything about that game.
No.
We don't know it's a game, technically. You could just be making a really ridiculous movie.
I mean, given Guillermo del Toro is on board, yeah, that might be true. At least they had Norman Reedus come up and say, like, yeah, they're not going to stop us
I'm
this
still
time.
employed.
Yeah. We basically literally said, they're not going to stop us this time. And another direct Konami jab.
But who is going to stop it? Because someone's going to have to. Because someone's going to be like, you're actually going to have to make a game and finish it at some point.
Well, I guess that would be Sony this time, right? Because Sony are...
Yeah.
So I think Sony are funding it.
This was the one that was... Wait, no. Was it this one that was partially crowdfunded? Oh no, wait, that's
No.
Shenmue 3. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, Shenmue 3 partially crowdfunded and then funded, but the remainder is being propped up by Sony and Sega, I think.
Yes.
What a disaster that would be.
Speaking of another weird propping up, I suppose, that is now coming to even more content, Bayonetta 3 announced. Hells yeah. The complete lack of any kind of response from you two is depressing.
Well, on the plus side, this time at least I'll be able to play it because I have a Switch.
That's true.
So I can play it if I want to.
And Bayonetta 1 and 2 are being re-released on the Switch.
Yes. So maybe they'll come in some kind of nice pack of some description.
There is a European pack for it called the something like Ultimate Climax pack or something they've called it.
As you would.
Oh, what, like a pack-in version with 1 and 2 or
Yeah.
something? Yeah, that sounds like a Bayonetta thing.
I
Yeah.
think that was what it was called, or Unending Climax or something it was called.
Because like aren't the like mini specials you can pull off just called climax attacks?
Yeah.
Also, oh no, yeah, the big ones and the big finishers for boss fights are called like climaxes as well.
Yep.
It's all about the climax.
Yep.
Enjoy your climax.
They should pack in they should pack in Bayonetta for Smash Brothers with that. Why not? Just throw everything in there.
Hell yeah!
But no.
But no, don't require
Smash
a
Brothers
re-release of
DLC
Smash
never gonna
Brothers.
happen.
Yeah, they'd have to call it Smash Brothers, not for Wii U for Wii U for Switch or something ridiculous.
I do wonder whether that will be what will actually happen with Smash Brothers, or whether they will actually get round to making a new one.
I would just call it
in
Smash
any reasonable
5.
time.
Right, something like that. They can't just call it Smash for Switch, right?
Well, I mean, they could. They just basically re-released the previous game on the Switch.
Call it Smash 5.
Which is probably what they'll do.
Yeah, I'm like, because it seems too soon for an actually new one.
Way too soon for a new Smash. Yeah.
But then, like, it's a new console, so you really want a new one.
Wow. It's way too soon in Smash timeline.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not too soon,
No.
like, for any other developer, but Smash, they seem to be so far apart now. Yeah, I don't know. I could not be more hype.
For a game that doesn't ever exist.
But, well,
Oh, no, wait, for Bayonetta.
Bayonetta.
Okay.
Bayonetta, because Bayonetta 2, I did manage to convince you both of like being one of our games of the year one year.
Well,
Or something else.
I mean, Dan had some experience with Bayonetta.
yeah.
It was just me that didn't so much.
Oh, it's such a good game. Unbelievably good game. And then there was something that I'm only bringing up because there are a certain element to it that I think is like, oh, this looks like any other sort of modern co-op game.
Yeah.
But I got Left 4 Dead vibes out of it to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, but Left 4 Dead crossed with Alien. And it was, yeah, so a very nice looking, sort of wandering through like an abandoned dark facility.
You're talking about GTFO.
I am talking about GTFO. I was going to end with that because that phrase, because like the trailer, it ended with that, and then everyone was like, "Oh, that
now
name,
we should leave."
that name, yeah, that name does not fit that game."
Well,
Because it's just like you've made what seemed like a serious, well-produced thing, and then given it a bloody internet name.
it's not technically an internet name. I mean, it's just like an acronym.
It's like calling something WTF.
It will only be bad if GTFO, if they try and backronym that to mean something
something
in the
else.
game, like
Yeah.
the military of the game or something is the GTFO.
With the great Terran fighting
Operation.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, that'll be when it's bad. Other than that, it's just a name. And, it's one of those things where it's like, does it really mean that? Or is it just an acronym? Is it like Dota, where it's like, that doesn't mean anything,
Doesn't
shut up!
Well, yeah, because it can't mean anything for licensing reasons. And the only other thing I wanted to call out anyway was Soul Calibur 6.
Sure.
Yes!
Yes!
Yes, Soul Calibur 6.
But as long as it's better than Soul Calibur 5.
No, Soul Calibur 5 was a good one. Soul Calibur 4 was the bad one.
Sure, but then you're getting
Because,
further back.
even then, 4 was a good one, but it was ruined by Yoda and Darth Vader.
Yeah,
Like those
but 5 was
And Starkiller.
5 was awkward for different reasons. Like the weird, the whole new character situation was weird, and then
Oh, yeah, the next generation thing. It sounds like they're backtracking on that, right? Because they've only showed Mitsurugi and Sophitia.
and I'm sure we said it at the time, but there was absolutely no reason you had to. The whole Soul Calibur is basically time travel at a certain point. You might as well not bother. Just have
Yeah.
whoever you want, whenever.
Although the one guest character, Ezio, was actually a really good fit.
Yeah.
It was,
So who are they going to get this?
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Tekken are going a bit mental with their guest characters, right? Like, Akuma sort of doesn't work to me.
Because it's weird and just like... Well, I mean, that's the whole Tekken Cross Street
Projectile
Fighter
thing,
thing
yeah.
that they were trying to do, but then didn't.
Yeah, so Akuma was like a nod to that. But then now they're bringing King of Fighters into it and stuff, Geese. And
I don't
someone
know
else
how mechanically King of Fighters is...
King of Fighters is weird,
compared to other
mechanically,
things.
yeah.
Well, I mean, they're all weird mechanically in their own ways, but it's
Yeah.
like, how close is it? Like, how well does it map?
Good question, because it's it's one of those 2D fighters, but like Koff is quite hardcore in
Yeah.
terms of like how it controls and things like that, and it's I don't know how that will map to 3D, but I guess that's kind of the interesting part of it, right?
Yeah, that's where the Tekken crossover is interesting, because Tekken's the 3D one. Or no, I guess Soul Calibur is as well. But
So, yeah, Soul Calibur.
So it's crossover with Tekken, Soul Calibur, that would be the perfect fit.
Yeah. I'm well up for a Soul Calibur go. It's like, yeah, five was a really good one. The character creator stuff was awesome. I mean, that's the downside, right? Soul Calibur 6 is the character creator can never be as good as 5 because of the advent of even more microtransactions.
Yeah,
5 was actually quite good about giving you enough stuff just in the base game that you could mess around with. But Tekken 7, like a lot of the stuff, there isn't actually that much stuff in that game. And they're expanding it, but a lot of it is like behind like ludicrous paywalls, and yeah. So it's, as far as I've been told, I haven't played that game since it came out. Really,
No, because you just do the treasure mode and get coins, and then just buy the coins.
But there's just not that much variety of the stuff, right? Every character mostly gets all of the same. Like all the ladies get all of the same kit. All of the
they do have special stuff for each character, but.
But there isn't nearly as much of that as there was in Soul Calibur 5. Like the range of options and the range of customizations you could do to those things to make them look mental. Who doesn't like cow print samurai trousers?
That's not even like a particularly special thing. That was just a thing that existed.
Yeah.
That wasn't something you had to make. It was just something that was in the game.
You could make the cardboard tube samurai
Oh, sure, but
with the Pac-Man logo on the back of his samurai robe, like bright yellow samurai robe. That's the peak of character creation to me.
I guess.
It's so good. That's what I really got from the Game Awards. Those are the announcements that made some sense for us to talk about. Anyway, there were other stuff, but it's just some stuff we'd already seen before, didn't really expand upon. Yada yada yada. Speaking of which, that was pretty much the entirety of PSX.
Because
like no real announcement. It wasn't a proper show, right? They did the couch thing, the couch chat. It was and I could not. The thing was like 4 hours long, right? And the last hour and a half of it was Greg Miller from Kind of Funny, just talking to people. It's not. I feel bad for the people that went to PSX thinking they'd get something like the last few years, and it was not that. There was stuff to play at the show, like an EGX, I suppose, but it wasn't like a reveal show. It wasn't really much to tease. Other than, I suppose, this year's shirt obviously came up. The Sean Layden T-shirt came up.
God damn it.
They totally stole that from Microsoft.
Yeah, they
the
did.
T-shirt thing. Yeah.
Except Microsoft gave up on that, as we saw in the summer, where it's just like, play to me, that doesn't mean anything.
No. So this year's shirt saw the return of Sir Dan from Medieval.
Yeah.
They're totally remastering that.
Which is awesome, because that was one of my favourite games.
Medieval was quality. I really enjoyed that back in the day. I have no idea how well it holds up. Honestly.
Not great.
No,
Yes,
probably
recently. It
probably
wasn't great.
not, though. But that's a cool thing.
But it's just another remaster.
Yeah,
God damn it.
but then
Can we get through the age of remasters already?
No. But then they're coming off the heels of like the unparalleled success of Crash, yeah. The Crash Bandicoot collection.
That's a very specific thing, though. That was a super popular game at the time.
Yeah.
Like, this game is like not like that's basically an indie hit of its time.
Yeah,
and now
in
you're
a
bringing
way.
it back.
I want to say it was was it a very UK game as well?
Yeah,
Medieval?
I think it might have been.
Yeah. So it's interesting that it's being held in this regard. Like, they might as well have just gone and said, hey, we're bringing back Croc.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that would be behind. That game was great.
do keep saying at some point we should probably do a video of Legend of the Gobos. Wipeout Omega Collection's getting a VR mode.
So you can puke all over the
Yeah,
place.
from the cockpit of those ships. That sounds mental. They had Horizon and God of War there, because of course they did. But the only reason I bring this up is because they very heavily took a stab at the immersive single-player experience trope.
Right. Or you mean the lack thereof?
Well, yeah, they were having a direct dig at EA. Like, I don't know if...
Which is slightly weird, because it's not like Sony versus Microsoft, where they're both like the console holders. It's EA, which is like a publisher who can potentially put games on Sony's system.
And there are Sony-endorsed PS4 ads at the moment on TV for Battlefront 2. You know, the game that's kind of the moment symbol of EA's most badness.
I mean, maybe everyone just decided that this was just like a safe opportunity to shit on EA. Like everyone can shit on EA now for a while.
I think it's just kind of allowed now. No one cares. They had a most interesting looking game to me was something called Donut County, where you play as a hole. You move around the world and things fall into you, and then stuff happens. Like if you put a fire in your hole catches on fire. Like as in flames start coming from your hole, and then you can set other things on fire. And it looks bizarre. I mean, it's a puzzle game of sorts.
Sure,
but yeah,
it's almost an adventure game.
Yeah,
you have to find the thing to put in the hole to cause the thing to happen.
It's a fun trailer because it's just got people like being very confused about what, like one person's playing it and trying to explain it to another. Well, I say person, I think they're like bears or something. talking to like another bear who's just like very confused about the whole thing until the hole comes and eats them. And
then squirrel please.
Squirrel please. I'm listening to cheese. I mean, that wasn't the squirrels. That was the rat things. It's like portable cheese. There was modern Echo the Dolphin in the form of a game called Jupiter and Mars.
No.
It's got like echolocation and underground cities.
Yes, but to say it's modern Echo the Dolphin is not exactly like that's. It's not going to be, is it? Unless it is. Unless it's like some kind of spiritual successor.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what you couldn't... Well, if you made a game about dolphins underwater with echolocation... It's going to be an Echo game, right? Because that's really all Echo was.
Yeah, but it's about what like the goal of the game is and like how the level design is. Because the point of Echo was like you had underwater mazes that you had to trigger certain things to progress through. Essentially,
yeah, I can imagine those would be quite tricky in 3D. So
well, yeah, that's why Echo when Echo went 3D, it was bad because it was like, well, yep, this is kind of not actually working any longer.
Yeah. And it was, the early days. It's still really of people trying to make old concepts work in 3D.
Yeah.
So, we might have a better idea of how to do that now. Maybe someone might be smart enough.
What you need is you need some crazy people to make Echo Mania.
Right. Yeah, I see. I wonder if... Echo would work in Retro Engine, right? Like, Retro Engine is what they built for Sonic Mania, effectively. Like, it's their physics engine and things. But if you just took the physics out of it and used the graphic capabilities... Well,
yeah, the graphics, sure.
Yeah.
You might even be able to modify that physics engine to Echo physics, I don't know.
Yeah, probably work. I mean, I reckon Sega should just double down on that. Like, Sonic Mania was so good. If they can get people who can recreate
all their old shit.
Yeah, all their old stuff, but make them better. Significantly, in the same way that Sonic Mania was the same game, but better.
Yeah.
They're onto something.
For a while.
Yeah, for a while.
Until they use all their licenses.
It's not going to work for that long, sure. But, it's something. Am I the only person here that thinks Monster Hunter World is beginning to look pretty good?
Well, Monster Hunter games always look good until you play them.
Right, yeah.
Then you discover how much a giant pain in the ass it is.
I think that's what's worrying me, because the more I see of Monster Hunter World, the more I'm really intrigued by it. But you've played it before, Zach.
Well, I played the demo of the Monster Hunter on 3DS.
And you thought it controlled like ass.
Well, that was maybe the 3DS's fault to some extent, because you're trying to cram this already awkward control system onto the 3DS's amount of controls, which wasn't exactly substantial.
But then they Mega Man's in it for some reason.
I mean, because
Because Capcom.
yeah, because they'll put whatever references they feel like into their games.
And they were basically saying if you have Mega Man as like your little pet thing, it will play Mega Man music instead of the normal music. That was their big reveal.
Woo.
Yeah, I know. You probably should have left that as an Easter egg.
Well, no, because they did it for the last one as well, didn't they? What was the follower thing that you got in that one that replaced like the cats? I don't remember.
Why would you replace the cats?
Because it was some even more ridiculous reference to something. That's what they do with their like follower things in multiplayer games. Like, it basically goes back to the old days of like Phantasy Star and stuff, where it's just like change your mag into an R-wing or whatever the fuck that was.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. That's it, really. That's all I really took away from those things. Not a lot. They did the same demo for Detroit that we've seen before, but they had the audience shouting the decisions they wanted him to make at him.
And did he in fact do them?
I don't know. I couldn't hear what people were saying.
Did he actually show any decisions that hadn't already been shown?
I don't know. I think save the fish. I think
Okay.
there was a fish you could save.
Oh, was it the demo that I played at EGX?
Was that the hostage situation where you're Connor, the android, and there's another android that's taken a
On the
human
roof.
girl?
On the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I
Apparently,
played.
that's the very first scene in the game.
It was really good from what I played.
Yeah, and he was doing the classic Quantic Dream thing of saying like pretty much every action is going to have a consequence of some kind. And of course I was watching the Easy Allies stream at the time, and they were like, even the fish? Is that going to have a consequence? Really?
Depends what you mean by consequence exactly.
Yeah.
It
Or
might
is
be a
it
thing
just going to change a scene or a dialogue?
It might be a thing where someone says one line differently at some point later on.
So in the version you played, Kips, was there like a probability of success counter?
Yeah, and it went up depending on how much
Or what
How
information you found?
evidence you found. And
Yeah.
shit,
Because you were saying that there are some things you could find that could actually confuse you without other bits of evidence, and that the number could go down based on what you found at times. But then
That
But
never
then I'm
happened
like-
in what I played.
Yeah, but then I'm almost like, doesn't that expose the underlying systems a bit much? Do I want to know what probability of success is? Like, I want to find... If it's like one of these situations... The hostage situation is like, I don't know if it's gamed up to be like, there's a time limit, you should do stuff, otherwise things are just going to kick off.
No, there's
Like,
no
as much...
time limit.
That's the problem, right? Like, yeah, like if there was a moment where it's like, you can only make a certain number of decisions in the time period, and... I'm not sure I'd want to know like how that affected the probability.
Well, I don't
I'd
really
want to just play it
understand
out.
the probability thing because
I mean, he's an android and he does the math.
yeah, but I mean, like when you actually go to the bit where you get to the hostage bit thing,
You still have to make the
you
right
still have to
decisions
make the
at
right
that
decisions.
Well, yeah, based on what you know.
Yeah, so you could still. And
I mean,
the
it'll be-
decisions aren't often related to the stuff you find. For example, it will ask you like he'll say something and you have to choose your response. It's like, well,
Yeah.
half these responses don't actually have any relevance to anything,
well-
but it can still reduce your percentage of succeeding.
Yeah, the thing in the demo that seemed perhaps a little too exposing, actually, in some ways, was that it very clearly showed which conversation options were related to evidence you found. Like they had like a square bracket around them or something. It's like talk about this thing
Right.
in relevance to it. I wonder if that's like almost like a cheat in a way, and it's like you found this thing, use this
Yeah,
thing to your
but I
advantage.
don't think that's always the right option, though.
I mean, there was a thing about a gun, right? You could pick up a gun,
You find the gun, yeah.
and you could choose to keep it on you,
Yes.
and then it gave you the choice whether to lie about whether you had it on you.
Yes.
And that seemed like a decrease, like if you lied, like probability of success decrease. But then in the demo, they just used it to execute the android
Right.
and be like, well, that solved the problem. He didn't know I had a gun. I could just pull it on him at one point and be like, there you go, problem solved. So, you know, there's stuff like that that's kind of...
'Cause
where it's grey.
That-
I think this game will live and die by its grey.
I mean, that bit seems to be basically like kind of LA Noir. Like, but the fact that it's compressed into a scene that's also the hostage situation happening at the time. It's not like you're going to the scene after and then looking at the stuff and then that's
analysing what you're
analysing the
afterwards.
thing
Yeah.
and then like going and interviewing someone and charging them. You're actually in the situation at the time, which makes it seem like it's like weirdly out of place to have this kind of analysis phase before you go and
Yeah, the amount of time, like, the weird thing about that demo is if there isn't a time pressure element to it, like, you know, you're going around, you're analysing the scene, you're checking things out, but you seem to be taking your sweet time about it.
Yeah, you can tell it's on
And
the
it's like, when everyone around you is like, we've got to deal with this right now, do your job.
or we'll
And it's-
snipe them or whatever. 'Cause
Yeah.
that even is like the situation there, right?
I
Like
mean-
if you don't deal with it, they're going to just shoot him, and then
I mean
you can
that
go
would
shoot
be
him
kind of an
yourself,
interesting
whatever.
outcome if there was warnings that if you could take too long during that thing, and they do just shoot the thing, and then like perhaps the girl dies as well. Like you get the worst outcome for taking too long. Or
I mean, I'm
something.
sure that could happen at some other point in this game. Maybe they just didn't want to do that in the first scene.
Yeah, maybe. The key will be telegraphing that, because the problem is if that first scene is you can take as long as you want, you're teaching the player
The
you
wrong
can
thing.
take as long as you want.
Well,
Well, but then they might just jam a timer on the screen at some point because you're an android and you can just have an internal clock that shows you how long you've got left.
I guess, yeah.
And the other thing is, how many of the scenes are there actually going to be in the game?
Well, the classic issue.
Yeah, that is the. Well, I mean, Beyond Two Souls was quite lengthy. I'm not saying it was a good game, but it was quite lengthy.
But how much did you get to do?
Oh, what you mean? How much did you watch compared
Yes.
to how much did you act? That's a really good question. I don't really know how to describe that. I like in Quantic Dream games, I would generally say like it's kind of a 50-50 split, right? You're doing actions to change what you're watching is the bulk of it, right? You don't have direct control all the time. The game's not really about that. And none of them have been. None of the Quantic Dream games have really been about the direct control because they don't control that well. To be honest, I mean, like Heavy Rain was tank controls, right? Turn left, move forward. Turn right, move forward. They might have
God.
patched in some more direct control later, but I'm sure that launched with tanks. I don't know. It still looks real interesting, but yeah,
I really like.
every
the demo I
Quantic
played,
Dream
but-
looks really interesting until you play it for realsies. Because Beyond Two Souls, I remember going to EGX that one time, coming away going, "Damn, this game! It was my game of the show that year." And you were like saying that Detroit might have been your game of the show
Yeah, it
this
was really
year,
fun.
but Beyond wasn't all that when you've played it for realsies.
I mean, it was a bit simple, I thought, but like you couldn't really fail, from what I could tell.
Well, no, that's the thing with these. There is like a bad and there are different. There is I suppose Heavy Rain did have the idea of a sort of worse ending.
Yeah,
but there were so many endings that it didn't really matter. It was,
yeah,
like, it was your own story.
the thing was though, like with this, it felt like the only way you could fuck up was if you did it on purpose.
Right. It's like,
Like-
I'm just going to wave my gun around and be like, I'm
Yeah,
going to shoot you.
the only way you could possibly screw that up was if you on purposely chose the wrong options because you wanted to.
Yeah. I wonder how many players would go, like, yeah, you like once you've played through it, like,
Go back and
role
play it
playing
badly.
Yeah, but like, is it like the Mass Effect thing where it's like you play through it the first time, Paragon, and you go through it the second time, or whichever way around?
Yeah,
you
but the
did it,
trouble with-
like Renegade, just for a laugh.
The trouble with Mass Effect is, the trouble with this compared to Mass Effect is that in Mass Effect, the two options are equally both successful.
Hmm.
Whereas in the Quantic Dream style, bad options are bad and they actually have bad outcomes, and you know that they're bad. So it doesn't incentivize you to do them, unlike Mass Effect, where it's like you're still doing the good things and the outcomes are still good, but you're just doing them in a different way.
Well, I mean, that's not true of all Quantic Dream stuff. I mean, Beyond experimented with the idea is you don't know what's right and wrong half the time. Like, you know, the famous party scene is, I guess, it's hard to know whether the wrong action was go mental and scare all the kids, or just go along with the party, or just leave. I mean, that was the interesting thing about some of the Beyond stuff is you could skip scenes
Yeah, but then
if it felt better to the character. You could just there was an attack scene at one where Jodie got attacked by people in a somewhat secluded bar, and you could make you know where that's going to go, right? And there's an option to just leave the bar before any of that happens. If you want to, you could just walk out and be like, that whole scene plays out to, like, doesn't happen. And then how that affects the rest of the game is like, does it or doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but
You'll never know.
that then is the problem with that. Because, like, if you... if you don't know whether you're succeeding or failing, then yes, it's easier to make whatever option, make whatever decision, and just be like, well, that doesn't actually matter what I do. But then, like, you have to know that or not know that, and then
what's worse than that, like in scenes like that, game of curiosity gets the better of you, right? Where you're like you're in the bar scene, and it's like in the game.
You want to actually see the game.
Yeah,
you don't
exactly. You don't want to just
leave.
leave. Like, you want to see what happens because you've paid for this thing to see things happening, and it's like just because you, So like these slightly weirder options don't always have a payoff. Is the other thing.
Yes, that's just really the whole problem with this whole concept of these games. Is like, how much information do you actually give people to know whether they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing or not?
I mean, LA Noir's biggest problem, I actually think that the correct and wrong and the scoring system of LA Noir was actually its biggest flaw, right? I think that game would have been better if the first time you play it through, none of that stuff was exposed.
Yeah.
You don't get the music cues to tell you whether you asked the right or wrong thing. You don't get the star ratings after the levels. That game is better with all that stuff removed.
Although they might have had to adjust it slightly to make it so that you... Because there wasn't really fail states, but like...
Some missions, I think, did have fail states. You could miss something and you'd have to replay them.
Yeah.
Replay the investigation from the start.
So, like, you kind of... If you're going to have fail states, you need to tell people whether they're doing the right thing at some point. But, like...
I guess.
How much? What proportion?
Yeah.
The game was weird, though, because didn't they change it in the newer version to say good cop, bad cop was the options instead of truth and lie?
Because it was neutral question or angry question, basically.
Yeah,
often that was part of the problem because the prompts on screen didn't necessarily
tell you what you were going to say.
Yeah,
there's that, but wasn't the whole point to choose whether they were telling the truth or lying?
Well, there was more. There was usually like 3 or 4.
There was 3
different
options. Was there truth, lie, and
doubt?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yes, that was it. And the lie was always overly aggressive.
Yeah.
And was often not the one you wanted to pick, but it. Yeah, it was just... The problem was you couldn't say...
but then...
I think there was often cases where you wanted to present a bit of evidence as well that you could see that there was a contradiction.
But the game...
Let's not bring up Contradiction, that weird game, which is also the similar premise. But yeah, you could, with the game wouldn't let you effectively... Or the question you couldn't find a way to lead into the question that you as a detective would want to ask. It's like, but I've got this bit of evidence that I need to tell you about that is contradictory to what you're telling me, but I can't do that, or I haven't found the route to get to that. And it's like, can I not just do that?
Yeah, but changing the names doesn't change that.
I mean, no. I mean, it means good cop, bad cop means something completely different entirely.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't make it...
You're not... that makes it even... I think that's even more obscure as to what...
Yeah.
All it does is describe the mood and has even less to do with what question you're asking.
Yeah, it makes less sense to me than...
You almost need more options, right? Like, so it says like doubt, angry, or something like. So you get a little preview at least of the mood you're about to apply.
Well, or just like not have quite such hard swings in the emotions.
Yeah,
you don't need every lie prompt to be extremely angry response. Just state the facts.
It should just be like truth and lie. But if you choose the truth option, it means you believe what they say. If it's the lie option, you don't believe what they say, but it doesn't mean you shout at them and go, "Hey."
Yeah, maybe it's just the fact that they added emotion to it was the problem.
It should just be that you're trying to work out whether they're telling the truth or not. That should have been what it is, not that you fly off the handle and go, "Yeah, you're an idiot,"
and then that throws the investigation out of whack. Because you could be too. You could pick the lie option, and even though that might have been the right option for the situation in your mind, the angry tone actually could put an early end to the interview in some cases, I think. From what I remember, anyway. I'm sure I got thrown out of a couple of conversations because it's like I was too aggressive.
Yeah, it shouldn't be about that. It should be about working out whether they're lying or telling
as
the
I
truth.
say, unless you have a mood modifier, which of course expands the amount of options you get.
Or just like not even have the button for like truth or lie be internal to your character. So like you record what you think is the truth or lie, but it doesn't actually affect the interview. You just continue, and your character makes an internal like record of whether he thinks that was a lie or not. Because that's how.
Yeah, but then those
If you-
things are way less interactive. Then you're not guiding the conversation, and so
Well, no, but you can still have the conversation be guided with subsequent options. You just like whether you think that was a lie or not could open up different routes through the conversation, what you want to say next or whatever. You don't need to have your
I
character
see what you
actually
mean.
express that they think
so-
that was a lie.
So it would be like a 2 steps. You'd say, "I think that is a lie," and then you get the dialogue options.
Yeah.
To be like, "What's your next line of inquiry?" And the last choice you picked affects the next set of options. So everything is a 2-step.
Yeah, that would work, I think.
Yeah.
That's kind of smart. I think I can get behind that. It does slow down the flow of conversations a little bit, but those conversations are always a little bit. You can't play them out particularly naturally anyway.
We could just
and
like
in
have
fairness,
it pause time while you're making the decision.
Well, I mean that's what it does. That's what
Yeah.
LA Noire does. But
Well, no, it doesn't in LA Noire. They just sit there going,
No, you have an idle animation.
yeah.
yeah, oh, I see what you mean. Right, yeah, just make it awkward like that. But then that was the thing, right? The idle animations were often your clue to
Whether
What
they were
they
lying
look
or
like,
not.
yeah. Like, one of the early ones with that shifty guy who was from Heroes. I can't remember his name, but he played like the I can hear stuff guy
Yep.
from Heroes, and he's like, but he was the most obvious tell, right? He'd have twitchy eyes when he was telling a lie, and it's like, well, there you go.
Most of them are really obvious, though.
For the first half of the game, I'd agree with you. The second half got really kind of tricky in that regard. People got better. The liars got better. Anyway, it's a difficult problem to solve, but I don't want them to stop. And I do quite like the Quantic Dream. Sometimes the old Walking Dead or Telltale, whatever you want to call it, the immediacy thing, where it's like you've got to pick an option right now, even if all you get is a clue to what you're about to say is one word. I do sometimes like that in those moments because it's like, I don't know, just mash a thing, see what happens. Because that's kind of like making real life fast decisions.
Yes.
You don't necessarily know how it's going to pan out, and I kind of like that, so that works. But for in-depth conversations, slow it down. I'm all for that. Zach's idea sounds pretty neat.
I think I wish
Mass Effect 5.
Forget Mass Effect. Mass Effect is over.
I wish they'd do more like the LA Noire style game though, because that was great.
Yeah,
With the investigating and stuff, it was really cool.
How
you should-
they should have made a Batman game at some point.
Yeah. Well, isn't the Telltale Batman game a bit more that?
I can't stand Telltale games.
There's a lot of punching going on in that Telltale game. if you choose to punch,
I mean, you're still Batman.
sure, but maybe more than usual. I think that Telltale game's Batman is supposedly unusually violent for a Batman.
Have you played any of the Telltale ones then, Kips? Have you
I
tried
play
them?
Walking Dead.
See, that's the only one I've played, in fairness. Was
I thought it was
all of season
rubbish.
1. Oh, really? I thought it was narratively quite bold. Like, it was one of those things that there was a lot of things that and, the branching path stuff was clever.
But it
the
wasn't
episodes.
because a lot of it didn't matter anyway.
No, I mean, it still had to get to the same point, right? It's the diamond effect. You can branch out a lot, and then it all has to come back.
That's what I mean. It's just like they say, all the decisions matter, and you make a choice, and like someone dies or whatever. But at the end of the day, the same thing happens anyway. So it's like, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who lives and dies because the same thing happens.
I think there were certain fairly heavy things that could be skipped, like certain major plot points, I suppose. You still end up in the same place, but certain things along the journey could be quite different depending on who lived and died. But The Walking Dead did a not very transparent thing where they would introduce new characters to fill the obvious gap that was left by someone dying. And it's like, well, here's the person that's either going to die immediately or there's going to be another choice involved to make this guy die instead. Some of it was kind of obvious. And in fairness to them, other than that terrible Jurassic Park game, which no one likes, this was their kind of first stab at it. And people seem to really like where Wolf Among Us went and Tales from the Borderlands even. People seem to like that one. And I'm kind of tempted to give those a go, just because they seem like that might be the height of Telltale.
I just don't like that.
And they're quite old now.
I just don't like the whole, like, there's no gameplay, basically.
Oh, fair enough. It's not for everyone. Adventure games aren't for everyone, for sure. I think I can be immersed in them. Like, I think Gnome and I did get into Walking Dead, but it was just... I think it's quite difficult for me to find a game that I will latch onto like that, in that genre. But then D4 was kind of that, and you played that.
I played most. I didn't play all of it.
Oh, did not? Okay.
But that was all right. That was better than the Telltale games.
Just because it was bizarre.
Yeah, I much prefer that. I thought it was more entertaining and more enjoyable.
Oh, where that game ends.
I don't know where it went.
Such a cliffhanger troll.
I just remember
It just hits its bizarre peak and then ends with no resolution.
That's because they thought they were going to make more than one,
Yeah.
but they didn't.
I just remember there's some bit where he keeps calling... Doesn't he keep calling his friend fat or something?
Well, yeah, repeatedly.
Yeah. And he
As he's wolfing down entire hot dogs
that was...
by the bucket.
Yeah, wasn't there a funny bit where he's like just eating something? I can't remember what it was.
Well, there was there was clam chowder. I think there was pizza, and I think in one of the episodes it was hot dogs.
Yeah,
Just downing them.
It was hilarious. I can't remember what it was.
A weird cat lady.
Yeah, the cat thing was
who
weird.
is actually a cat in the other world or something that's never explained. Why is she a cat? That seems to have an equivalent. Why can you buy things from the cat?
But that was more interesting. Like, despite the
Why can't
weirdness.
people smile in that game? That was just an animation thing. No one smiled. Everyone went, hey! Sort of a weird grimace.
Yeah, but despite the weirdness of it, I preferred that style of
the
way they did it
I can understand why. Yeah.
more than the Telltale way of doing it.
So I'm assuming you wouldn't get on with something like Life is Strange then, which is kind
Well,
of
I
Telltale,
played
but...
the first bit of it, and I
So I've
thought
played
it was
the first-
actually pretty good. So
Okay.
I might actually get that because that's pretty cheap now.
Is
isn't
that just because you think that the time mechanic from the original, at least, not the because they haven't got that in the prequel series, obviously, but because
I don't know,
the time mechanic actually sort of added something.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the style of Telltale just doesn't win me over.
Oh, the fact that they all have that look.
They all have that same look, and it's always like just choose an option and see what happens. And you don't like, but these other ones all have more interaction in some form, like like you're walking around or.
I mean, I guess
looking at things,
some of Walking Dead had the old puzzle stuff, right?
It has a little
The one on the
bit,
farm,
yeah.
for instance, had a classic. You need to get these things together to turn these things on to make the story progress, which they then moved away from actually as the series went on.
Yeah,
and just said it's more about decisions.
just the other ones feel more like games than.
I think there is a market for just the games that are just that, just the distillation into.
That's what visual novels are, aren't they?
Kind of, but you know, obviously there was a bit more to the tales. You know, they're not just reading text with a terribly animated anime girl on one side of the screen.
But that's pretty much what they are, though.
As I learnt from playing 2 visual novels this year that are both... Oh, I didn't even talk about where Neko Para ended up, right? It's like, that game gets way worse!
I think you might have talked about it.
I mean, I talked about the start of it. That gets a lot creepier as it goes on.
Unsurprising.
Yeah.
That's essentially what they are, though.
Yeah.
And I don't really like that.
Yeah. Well, visual novels, the decisions do even less.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a single decision in Neko Power, actually. Although there was one. Oh no, there was Fault. Fault had a single decision in it at one point that made no difference. I'm sure one of those things must be alright.
I'm sure one of them probably exists somewhere.
There's no news. There's no other news.
Well, I guess.
Other
There's a
than
couple of games,
Opus
wasn't there?
Magnum came out.
Yeah, and as I predicted, it made it out before the end of the year.
Yep. It's allowed to be in our full discussions.
Irrelevantly.
They announced Mega Man 11 or something.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
heard
Oh, I missed that.
Hopefully they will somehow understand what a fucking Mega Man game is.
It looked quite good.
So what, are they going full retro again?
No,
like
it's
NES
modern.
style?
Modern.
Okay, so they're attempting the mighty number 9.
Yeah, it looks a lot like that. But everyone's saying it looks better than Mighty Number 9.
Well, it's not difficult to look better.
No,
than
I don't really know enough about Mega Man to
care.
No, I don't think I've ever played a Mega Man game.
I've always wanted to, but they just always look too fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like with the
And the music is badass.
The music is always awesome, and it's like I know the problem I hate about it is the start bit where you have to choose the bosses you want to go to, and you just don't know which ones are weak against what.
There isn't an ideal route.
Yeah. So you could
but I guess that's like back in the NES era. That's the thing, right? Like that was what gave the game replayability, because those games, like NES games, were always so one trick, right? You had to like, give them some legs somehow, and those legs were difficulty and figuring out what the hell to do.
Yeah. So there was that, and there was also a game called Witchfire, which looks pretty cool.
Oh yeah, sorry, I missed that. That came out was that the Game Awards? Yeah, Witchfire.
That looked really awesome.
Because that's Chinese Room, isn't it? Or
Something.
one of these walking simulator developers. Oh, but that was the really good trailer actually, because they were like from the makers of something like What Remains of Edith Finch or one of those games. And it was just him walking around like a creepy looking church area or something. And then some things appear and he picks up a gun, and then the trailer goes, oh yeah, and Bulletstorm. So it's like, okay, this could be fun.
It looked really cool.
I can't. I was just having a quick look to see if the recording was still going. So I'm worried after our recent failures, and my monitors are all turned off.
So now Rob needs to go over there and have a look at this computer.
Windows update.
Oh no, Windows 10 is shut down.
We're still good.
Okay, good. So now I guess we can
it?
move on from
Is that the news? Bayonetta and Witchfire, all the witches.
Yeah,
It's all about the witches.
plenty of witches. And the news on me.
The Witcher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Weren't they something about, speaking of CD Projekt Red, wasn't there something about the CEO of them saying that the Cyberpunk game they're working on might need to have some games as a service stuff in it? And everyone's like, no!
Well, it's just because they've never done that before, and everyone points to The Witcher as like
It's the
when
most,
they compare it to Mordor, where it's
yeah.
like, here's a bad example of this type of game, and here's a good example. And it's like, oh no, now they might be converting to the other side.
The Witcher supposedly is the best example of like single player immersive, not screwed by games as a service games.
Yeah,
Not screwed by online payments and microtransactions and boxes of loot.
I mean, it depends what he actually means by that, because if
Yeah.
it has to have some kind of online connectivity for some actual gameplay purpose, then maybe it'll be fine.
I think I agree with the was it the Giant Bomb suggestion that if by that they mean if they had like a Hitman style element to it where there's like evolving quests that only exist temporarily and things like that, that could really work and make sense in the Cyberpunk universe, I guess.
Well, depends what the fuck that their Cyberpunk universe actually is, because we still don't really know anything about that.
What even type of game is it? How does it play? What is it?
Well,
What is it?
presumably read the comics, it might give you an idea.
I guess.
read the Polish novels.
Yeah, exactly.
Any more news? We done with news?
I think so.
All right, guest. What have you been playing?
Not,
Games.
not much.
Well,
Always
you've
helpful.
got.
Counter-Strike.
Well, I suppose
Yep.
you've got stuff that we haven't talked about like ever this year because you've got an Xbox One X.
And I've played nothing on it.
You've got Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, Call of Duty, I suppose, but no one likes to hear about Call of Duty.
I mean, is it a good Call of Duty?
I liked it. I thought the single player was pretty good, but it's just Call of Duty. Same as every other Call of Duty. Lots of explosions.
Does the multiplayer have legs this year?
I really like the multiplayer. I think the multiplayer is great. It had a lot of problems at launch.
Yeah,
Well,
we talked about those. The whole our HQ's turned on now.
I don't know. The last time I played it, they still weren't. But I think they turned it on like last week or something, or really recently. So supposedly they're working again.
I hear they have Christmas trees.
Yeah, I've not been in it since.
They've turned it on just
since
in time to make it look real dumb by decorating it with Christmas stuff.
But I really like the whole multiplayer side of it. Like, it feels pretty balanced. And although I say that, it does feel like the SMGs are way overpowered compared to ARs, like they have been in a lot of recent CODs.
Right, yeah. That there's no reason to really use much else.
I still use ARs over SMGs because I like the range.
Mm.
But SMGs like just destroy you at mid to short range.
Yeah, because that was the the way I haven't really played a COD game properly since. Well, I guess I played quite a bit of Advanced Warfare, but Black Ops 2 was obviously my last real gig.
Black Ops 2 is definitely the best one in my opinion.
Yeah, still. And I was I ended up going learning the way of the SMG in that.
I always used AR in Black Ops 2. But
it was more because a lot of the levels in Black Ops were quite small, and the chances of just running into someone round a corner were way higher. So I would just go, if I had an SMG, I could just go. Brah!
Well, that's why I always had a shotgun as my secondary.
Oh, really? That's quite cool. Yeah, I never really got into shotguns in COD.
Oh, they were great in Black Ops 2. But yeah, that's kind of why I really like this COD as well, because it feels a lot like Black Ops 2.
Simplified,
and I can go around with a shotgun as my secondary, so I can just obliterate people with point blank.
The draw of the shotgun is real.
Because you can't knife in these ones anymore, like you used to.
Oh, there's no melee?
You can melee, but nowadays it takes 2 melees to kill, not one,
Oh, like the original. Wasn't that true in 4 or something?
Yeah, I can't remember.
It was never insta-kill.
Oh, 4 it was insta-kill.
Okay.
But
I'm sure there was one of them where it wasn't.
Yeah, I think they changed it in Black Ops, or it might have been Advanced Warfare. They changed it where it now takes 2 hits. Ever since then, it's taken 2 hits.
Yeah, it might have been that actually. Yeah.
So now melee takes 2 hits unless you equip a special melee thing that
makes your knife instant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a perk now.
So that's why I have a shotgun, because if people run into you, just blast them with that and they're dead instantly.
So what's your playstyle like then? So you're running around with a shotgun out most of the time until you see a long range scenario coming up? Or
I always have AR as my primary, and then the shotgun as a secondary. And mostly, if you're going through buildings and stuff, I'll have a shotgun out. Yeah. But most of the time I have the AR, because you can just hip fire it and it'll kill things pretty easily.
Don't need to worry about the aim down sight.
Yeah, you'll still get demolished most of the time by SMGs, but it's pretty good. And it just feels like they really simplified the class structure and everything, so you can now only have 1 perk.
Right, yeah.
But the other perks come from what class you choose.
Oh, yes.
Or division, they call it.
I'd forgotten about that.
So you have 4 different divisions. There's 5? You have the shotgun, the sniper, the AR, the SMG one, and I think
you basically have to pick the shotgun class to do your style.
No, I don't at all.
Right. So there's enough customization that you can sort of mess with it, but
yeah, because the one perk I use is the perk that lets me have 2 primaries.
Right, I see.
So I have that, and then I have the shotgun as the secondary, and then I have my main division as the AR one.
I only have the old COD problems solved in this, I guess, is my question. Because even from all of the Black Ops games, all I remember sometimes is that end of game kill cam.
Yeah, it's still
where you see the slow mo and you see that the person is aiming nowhere near the person that has died.
That's still really bad.
Okay,
it was way worse at launch. They fixed it quite a bit since then, from what I've played, and I actually really enjoy it now. That doesn't seem to happen anywhere near as often as it did at launch, but it still happens a lot.
It's never been totally clear whether those end of kill cams were just because this is what your console thought was happening versus this is what the server thought was happening.
There's a bit of that, and also they have really bad lag compensation in that game.
Like sort of classic client-side trusting stuff.
Yeah, so I don't really know how lag compensation works, but the way they implement it in COD is it's super, relaxed, so
if you see you shooting someone, the server assumes it happens, even if
the
player had moved and you were lagging.
It's a bit like that, yeah. I don't really know.
Because that's the old Halo system, right? That's what led to, back in Halo 2, the old standby thing, right? And that everything was client-side trusting.
So in COD it's always been super, it seems like the window for the lag comp is way wider than most other multiplayer games, Titanfall 2, for example,
is
way better at that,
COD's
I feel.
Speed.
Yeah, as I I've played Titanfall 2 the other day, and I played a couple of games in the multiplayer, and that seems way better for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you're new to Titanfall 2 as well. How do you feel about that? That's worth talking about, because I love Titanfall 2. And I didn't play nearly enough of it, because I was kind of the only one of us that did. But I got... It's a properly great game. I
played the single player, obviously. Yeah. That was good. It looks amazing on the X, by the way.
Oh, yeah, because that got patched recently. The smart pistol section.
That was kind of the worst part.
Really? Oh, it's just fun, because it's just now you're a god.
Yeah, it was kind of point. It was if this has been in this thing the whole time, why have I not been using that?
There's a bit of that, yeah. It's like they just hide away the best weapon ever.
Yeah, so why is this the emergency weapon that's just the best weapon ever, and it seems to have infinite ammo? So
Yeah. It is mental, but it does make for a nice moment.
yeah.
That game is just full of moments, and I like
I
that.
really like the time section. That was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's so clever.
Yeah. I kind of wish they did more of that. But it's
But then,
good
in a
they
way,
didn't.
then in a way, that's the best part, that they'd limited it to its usefulness. It's like, this is the one part of the story where it makes sense, so we're not going to just jam it in everywhere else. Yeah, that's a properly cool game. But the multiplayer...
I've only played 2 matches
Hmm.
just to get the achievements for it. And it was fun, but I still think Titanfall 1 was better
Oh, really?
for multiplayer. It just doesn't feel the same. There's something about it. I can't...
It is different in many ways, but I mean, I've been playing on PC,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think it's improved. Whatever this feel thing that you don't like, whatever the change is, I like the change. And it's like I don't think the maps are quite as standard.
No, the maps don't feel
I think
as
I
good.
remember the maps from the first game more, even though I've put more hours into Titanfall 2.
It's got the COD issue with maps, I feel like, where they're trying to overcomplicate them to the point of ridiculousness. Like COD...
Well, they have the real trouble with Titanfall, and that they kind of have to because of the
but
nature of the game.
They do, but at the same time, they clutter it with too much crap a lot of the time. Like trees in the way.
I see what you mean. Like, it has the modern FPS problem where they need to make it look good, but the stuff that makes it look good is in the way.
Yeah, it's just annoying. Like, I like the Halo Forge style maps where it's just, they're super simple, but it makes it more competitive.
Just a pure arena game.
Yeah. That's what I like. That's why I kind of like the older CODs, because even though the maps then were still like trying to be complex, they just weren't because they couldn't.
But then I remember a lot of COD 4's maps being actually really quite
COD 4
labyrinthine.
had pretty bad maps, yeah.
Yeah.
But Black Ops 2's maps were...
Black Ops were good. I mean, they were quite complicated in spots, like lots and lots. Most rooms had 3 or 4 ways in and out of them.
But it didn't have like stuff in the way everywhere. And...
Yeah. There wasn't just props everywhere.
Yeah.
They were all the props that were there were big.
Yeah.
So they meant to be there.
So there's that. Yeah, going back to COD quickly, it's just like I highly recommend the multiplayer on it.
Okay.
It's
cool.
great. And I'm actually reasonably good at it, which makes a change. It's the first COD since Black Ops 2 I've actually been able to do well on.
Nice. Because we have been saying most of this year, like since we knew World War II was a thing this year, that it's like, maybe this is the one to go in on, because I skipped the last 2. Advanced Warfare was the last one I played. I wasn't at all interested in Black Ops 3 for some reason.
Black Ops 3 wasn't great.
Yeah, despite loving Black Ops 2, I just was not interested in 3 at all.
It's because they introduced the stupid super moves and stuff, and it's just they're so bad. The whole super move thing
because I played the beta and just did not get on with the supers.
And then Infinite Warfare was the same, pretty much.
Yeah, which is why I skipped that as well, because it's like the story sounded interesting, but then a lot of the reviews said, "Oh, it's not actually that good," and it's like, "Oh, all right, missed a trick here," so I skipped that as well.
Yeah, World War II is awesome, really good.
Now we're just waiting to see if Battlefield will go back to World War II again.
Yeah, because Battlefield 1 makes the least sense.
Well, the rumour is at the moment they're doing Bad Company 3.
Yeah.
Which
everyone's been
technically
asking for ages.
Bad Company 3 doesn't technically have to happen in any specific time period, because they could just easily bullshit those same characters into a different time period and be like, no, they're just there.
Well, it doesn't even have to be the same character, the same style. The banter style.
Yeah, same character types, I guess.
Another good thing about COD is the kill streaks are totally useless.
Great.
So you don't get... Well, you still get killed by them occasionally, but most of them are god-awful.
It's not the whole... The rich get richer problem isn't so bad.
Yeah, so you can't stack them like you used to in old games. So like most people, do you remember you get the airstrike and then you kill like 2 people in airstrike and then that would give you your next kill streak. It's like, that doesn't happen nearly as much in this game because they're all so awful.
Great, yeah. Yeah, I've always thought they should have thought about that, changing that up. Like, so perhaps like there was a risk reward element to it. Like, so you could get a UAV if you wanted to, but that can then cashes out all of your points. And then you have to work if you have to push past the UAV to get to the next one if you want to go for the next one. So you're risking not using your level 1 to get to your level 2.
Yeah.
Like, I always thought that would probably be a better system for those games.
Well, they
But then
could-
getting to level 3 was always really tricky anyway, like even with the stacking.
Yeah.
or if they just wanted to partially solve the stacking problem, just make kills from the kill streak not count towards the next kill streak.
Yeah, that was
That would be
also...
the obvious way
I
to
mean,
deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that also should have been a thing.
That was never a thing, wasn't it? They never actually put that in, did they? Like that sort of system. You'd think
No.
that would be the obvious solution.
That should have been like that. Because it's just stupid. Like, there was some... I can't remember which COD, but as I say, you could just get an airstrike and then you'd kill like 3 people with that, and then you'd get your rolling thunder or some shit, and then
Is it Black Ops 2 with the nuke?
they all have that.
They all have the nuke, like,
They-
just end the game and you win.
Yeah.
The classic 25 kills.
Yeah, if you get 25 kill streak with weapons, then you...
You just win the game.
it doesn't win the game anymore, but it kills the entire enemy team.
Oh, it's an hour wipe. Okay.
And there was one... was it Ghosts? That had the really weird system where you could get...
God, I forgot that game existed.
Where you could get sometimes instead of getting your kill streak on some maps, or was it like they'd get a random crate would appear at some point or something, and you'd instead of
Oh, yeah, the weapon drops. Well, no, that was always the supply drop was always a thing.
yeah,
right?
but instead of getting a kill streak like your normal kill streak, you could get a
super
one-off
sometimes.
super that affected the map. So
Wow.
it would like nuke the map, and the map layout would change.
Wow. Oh, like an evolution.
Yeah, the whole map would change to a different map basically. But it was only on certain maps, and it was whoever got the first kill streak or the first package of the map or whatever.
Could cause it. Interesting. That's weird.
It was pretty weird. But it just
Slightly less organic than Battlefield's method.
Yeah.
that was a weird one. I didn't like it because obviously you got free like 5 kills because it killed the entire enemy team while you did it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, none of that shenanigans in the new one, apart from obviously the nuke. But have you seen a video of the new nuke? It's called the V2 rocket, and it's so bad.
Wait, isn't the V2 like a World War II thing?
This
It's
is World War
World
II.
War
We're talking
Oh,
about.
sorry. You're right. Sorry, I get properly confused with Battlefield 1 and World War II. And World War II. It's stupid.
But
Stupid.
it looks so bad because it's just this giant rocket,
Yeah.
and it just goes. But the whole map explodes and people die. It just looks awful.
Wait, but did
V2
it kill
one-
everyone as well? Like,
No, you don't die.
Naturally,
Oh,
because,
okay.
you know, no
But
friendly fire.
it just looks so bad. It's literally just a giant rocket that goes.
I like your description of the explosion being so small to the
It
size
looks
of the rocket.
awful. It just looks so bad, yeah. But yet the whole map explodes, and but it doesn't look like it.
Does the team get like a zoom out camera of the map like exploding or anything?
No, I
Did
think
they,
it-
did they not make a big deal out of it?
I think it's like the classic nuke where you like slow down.
Yeah, the whiteout.
Oh yeah. It was just a whiteout, wasn't it, when it was first introduced? But,
I think it's like that where you just like move really slowly and then you just die randomly
no.
from an explosion.
But yeah, V2 would. They should have. Well, no, I guess it would. It would have only made more sense in World War One for it to be some kind of gas attack. Where, like, for some reason, the enemy team doesn't get gas masks, so they all die.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that should be more sensible. Yeah.
But that's more a World War One thing than two, really. Gas attacks weren't so much a thing in World War Two.
No, I guess not.
Yeah,
Oh God.
it's good. I recommend it. It's good fun. I haven't played much of it this year though, but it's because I don't really like playing it on my own anymore.
Jeremy not into it.
Not as much as it used to be.
Hmm.
I like playing it with people because it just makes it more fun.
Yeah. Well, maybe I pick up a copy at some point. We'll see.
It's good fun.
We shall see.
I was just going to say about Titanfall 2.
Okay. Yeah.
In my second game, I did get a 7 kill streak. In my second
Yeah,
game,
nice.
it was within like 5 seconds as well.
Okay.
I got a video
Right at
of
the
it
start
on
of
the
the game.
Xbox. Yeah, I was right at the start of the game. I just ran out like kill one and then kill another one, and then 3 people on the stairs. I'm like gun them all down.
What style of weapon have you chosen to go for?
I just picked the starter.
Oh, you got the
thing.
normal rifle.
Yeah, I didn't even change the class. I
Okay.
just-
Yeah. So you got the.
It's probably really bad.
Have you
but
gone for? I forget what the start. There's the start of the grapple or the stim pack.
yeah, it's grapple. I
Okay.
didn't really use that though. Stim
No,
pack's
I've
probably
never
better.
quite got the hang of the grappling hook. Like whenever I seem to use it, I seem to just be super obvious and everyone shoots you. I've very rarely seen it. actually being used by other players as well. Because most people tend to use either the invisibility or the stim pack. I use the stim pack, to be honest, and it's...
But that was kind of cool. First game I got destroyed.
Yeah, that will happen. Because the Titan mechanics are different as well. And like the lack of a regenning shield it takes a little getting used to. But they're not quite as vulnerable as they used to be to a sustained attack from foot soldiers. They're still fairly vulnerable, but they're not. The people on the ground do have to put a bit of effort in to take them down. But it doesn't. Your efforts never feel wasted as a foot soldier because of the no regen.
Yeah.
It's like I do think the changes are smart, and they do pan out.
I didn't think the battery thing was necessary though.
No.
Always
bothered me about it.
I mean, that's what people...
Boarding was already a giant pain in the ass, and now you've made that mechanic even more like a critical element.
Well, that's what most people's biggest complaint with the game is, that everything else is very active, whereas the canned rodeo animation to pull the battery out is such a detachment from everything else that it just feels wildly out of place.
I preferred just being able to like throw nades in it or whatever. Like in the original.
Oh, the shooting into the cover.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea that in pulling the battery out, you can then power up one of your own things. I mean, I think that is clever. That you now have a battery, and you leave a big green trail behind you while you have a battery, so you become a bit of a target. And it's like, I do kind of like that, because obviously you then just take it back to your own Titan and be like, now I'm more powerful. And it's, I don't know. I liked that part of it, but it's just the whole canned animation thing, that it's not active and that it's
I mean, I suppose in some ways you could argue that the battery was an attempt to reduce the annoyance of just having someone radioing on you and you can't do anything. Because then they just jump off now, rather than just sitting there and whittling away your health.
What I used to do is just put a satchel on my
on my
thing and then jump out.
Oh, jump out and blow.
The counter.
I mean, just...
You probably could still do that, though,
I
right?
don't know if... satchels are still in it, I think. But I don't know if they're quite as sticky. And, I always just made sure I had countermeasures.
Well, the whole radio situation in one was the problem of there not being enough options, where it's like you were going to get radioed, so you had to take the electric smoke, and that filled up your passive slot, and that was that.
Because I think it's possible to, if you radio someone who doesn't have a battery anymore, it actually doesn't do anything, like, because it's quite a rare thing in Titanfall 2.
You just jump off it again, do you?
Yeah.
That should be when you shoot in the hole.
Yeah.
If you manage to get a second person on there, but then it should be limited how much damage you do, or like how long you can stay on there.
Or it should just be like you lob a grenade in and jump off.
Yeah, that's probably sensible, actually. Yeah, so it's a very quick thing.
But not quick. I think it should take a little while so you have a chance to get them off before they get a nade in you.
Yeah.
But maybe if it's if it's happening the second time, then you could just put it in the battery hole, right?
Yeah. But I mean,
you need to artificially extend.
Yeah, I think the animation for it should take like a few seconds.
But then you're back in the problem where the canned animation is not an active thing, unless there's some sort of like control mechanic to actually get into the place where you can throw the nade in.
I don't know.
It's a very. Don't get me wrong. I do think it's a difficult problem for them to solve, and I never thought the battery stuff was too problematic. Having to wait for the animation. It was just something you got used to.
Well, in my time of playing Titanfall 2, which was 2 games so far, I had people jump on me and rodeo me at least 7 times in that one game that I actually got on Titan.
No, really? Yeah, it's just not game over if someone does it anymore, which is alright. It's alright. It's a good game. And at least now we officially know that Titanfall 3 is on the way.
Do we?
Well,
yeah. That got it's not announced, but it's
But we'll see.
They've said some things now that involve the word Titanfall 3.
But we'll see whether it actually comes out, because now EA has them.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe EA will just cancel it and shut it down.
And it might be the worst thing ever made.
Yeah.
EA don't learn.
It might be suddenly full of loot boxes.
Yeah.
Inevitably.
God, did you hear about Need for Speed? That sounds so bad.
Oh, what, the customization stuff?
Well, just the progression engine, the card-based progression engine.
Yeah, the card-based stuff.
So bad. Like watch the Easy Allies review where they like really dig into the fact that it's like, you have to go to shops, but the shops only restock every 10 minutes, and if they don't have the things you want, you've got nothing to do for 10 minutes, like because you can't progress to get to the next mission that you need. So you just hang around in the car park for 10 minutes. And it just sounds terrible
Oh dear.
on every level. Do you want to talk about any other like 2017 stuff, like just in general, to try and influence goatees? It's your last chance.
Well, I played a lot of Counter-Strike as usual.
That doesn't
Game's still
count.
great.
Well, I guess we could put it in the
Well,
live games
there's a-
category if we have one. But yeah.
They've permanently made Ringman an option now, which is probably my most favourite thing at the moment.
What's that?
2v2, one bomb site,
Oh, interesting.
one team plants, one defends. It's just 2v2s. It's great. Super quick.
That sounds tricky. It's basically the end of every Counter-Strike
Yeah,
game.
but that's really good. And it has its own ranking and all that, so
Okay.
it's pretty fun. I've been playing a new game that's in alpha at the moment, I think, or beta, called Laser League.
Oh, I saw that. What is that?
It's pretty cool. It's a 2v2, 3v3, or 4v4 competitive game. Very Tron style looking environments. You get a square or rectangle arena. It's top down view, and the idea is you get these like white poles that appear, and you have to hit the pole by running over it, and it sends out a laser wall, and then loads of them keep popping up.
In like a circle, or
It's
or
different
push-
shapes.
push- all right.
They all do different things. Depending.
Okay.
And the idea is you have to try and kill the opposing team by getting them to go through your laser walls that you make with these poles.
Oh, I see. Forcing them to pass through it.
So it's like some kind of futuristic dodgeball.
Yeah, kind of. And you have different class of character that you can choose that do different things.
Area of effect dodgeball.
Yeah, so you get like a guy with a shield that you can zip like a bit where bash into. No, you don't dash really. You bash someone with your shield and they go flying.
Oh,
And the
right.
idea is
Okay,
to
so you
try
could
and
push them into
Yeah.
it. Yeah, okay. That's cool.
And you got one that has like electric balls in his hand, and you use it, and you like have a field around you that if you go near an enemy while you're you just kill them.
Oh, okay. Well, they just take, and that's the same as them hitting a laser. They're
Yeah.
just taken out.
Yeah. There's a sniper character which you press a button and you run around. It makes a line, and then you let go and you go zip. You zip back to the where you put the line.
Oh, interesting.
And
So-
anyone in your path while you do that gets killed.
Oh, right. So, and not the line itself.
It doesn't create a wall. It's just like a guideline, so you know what the line is you're making.
Oh, so you travel back along the line, not a straight line back to where you were.
It's a straight line, yeah.
Oh, right. So you can only draw a straight line. You can't like wiggle
making
around.
a start point and an end
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Right.
basically.
I see.
And then you just zip back to that point, and anyone that's in your way gets killed.
You're basically like you're creating like a split second of a laser wall, but just where you want it is essentially what that's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. That sounds fun.
You got a guy that can go invulnerable for.
Can you ever play see that? Actually?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Oh, right. So it's less stealthy when you're doing it.
Yeah, because you can see the line. But you still have to try and avoid it
Yeah.
while all the lasers and shit are going around.
Yeah.
You got a guy that can go invincible for a couple of seconds, so you can run through enemy lasers or whatever. I can't remember what the other ones were. There's a guy with a sword that you can, if you get close to someone, you can just slash them.
So is it all presented from this this top-down Smash TV style perspective?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's quite fast paced, and you can get random power ups occasionally that do things, and it's quite fun.
It sounds neat.
It's really good fun.
I'm intrigued. Is it sort of like Tron black and neon?
The arena's like a red neon kind of arena, and then your teams are either blue. I think blue and yellow at the moment, so neon blue and neon yellow, and all the walls are neon and stuff that you make.
My eyes may bleed.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I really like it.
Worth checking out. So is it like a paid early access?
No, it's in private beta at the moment, I
Okay,
think.
right. Oh.
Check it out soon.
I don't know when it's due or whatever, but that's really cool. I don't know if it will do well, but whether it will actually have a player base.
Yeah, that is the problem with a game like that. But I might do it first.
But it looks really fun. And I've enjoyed it so far. I don't know if you can actually get good at it, but...
Do you think the fact that they have League in it, they're just trying to be like, oh, maybe this will be the new Rocket League of competitive sports, or maybe it'll be an esporty watchable thing, because it's mechanically
As
relatively
long as they
simple.
don't
Yeah,
claim
yeah.
that it's going to be an esport before it comes out, then
Yeah. As long as they don't say it's the new esport, and, it's like, and if they don't trail it with shoutcasters, they'll be fine.
And you can also revive teammates if they get killed. So
Okay,
if they're down, you just run over where they died and they come back.
and they
again.
come back immediately. But obviously, to get there, you have to make
Yeah.
sure there's no laser in the way. Yeah.
And all 4 walls, you can a wrapping. So if you go like through the right hand side, you come out on the left hand side.
Oh no. Oh no.
that sounds like that's going to be confusing.
Yeah. I immediately get screwed by it. I always get screwed by that. It doesn't matter what game it is. If it's got wrapping walls, I don't deal with it.
But you kind of need it in this though, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to avoid some of the laser walls.
I kind of thought that was the point.
Yeah, but you need some way of being able to survive. Like you
Mm.
can't just like have someone make a wall and then you're just dead because you can't avoid it.
Right. I guess the arena. I guess that means the arenas aren't big enough to.
It's literally just a rectangle.
It's just a screen.
Just a rectangle, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Presumably they might make other arenas at some point.
Other
but
shapes. Yeah. Huh.
pretty
I
fun.
did not expect it to be that. For some reason, I thought it would be like an arena shooter, like in my head. Like I'd seen the name pop up somewhere, but I didn't know anything about it. I was just like, that's going to be an arena shooter, right? But I guess not. Is there any other sort of like weaponry to it other than that? Like
No.
so like players that don't have like offensive capability to bump up against each other or
No.
pass through or
Yeah, I think if you run somewhere, you just like run into them, nothing happens.
right. It'd be quite funny if you could just, literally just sort of tackle them, like, and just be like, "No, you're gonna hit this laser, and I'm gonna sacrifice myself."
You can't do that. Like you can like block their path, I guess. If you,
That'd be fun.
it's just,
Is it like their lasers? Is it like friendly fire as well?
yeah.
Or,
yeah.
where it's
Oh no, it's
all-
not friendly fire. Like,
Okay,
you
so your
walk through
lasers
your
are
own
safe.
lasers, yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So you can troll people by like pushing them through your laser, and you can go through it as well. But obviously you don't die.
You're okay.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah. I'll keep an eye out for that. That sounds cool.
It's simple enough that anyone can pick it up. But I imagine once you get good at it, it's
Quite brutal.
Yeah.
Not Lethal League.
No.
All these games from League in the name.
Yeah. League is the new league.
And they don't even have a league.
Not yet. It's bound to be the next esport. The Gfinity Elite Series.
Yep.
We'll have the Rocket League and the Laser League. And now all they need is to replace Street Fighter with Fighting League. And
Yeah, but it looks nice, and you don't need a good computer for it. Obviously, it's just all basic
Yep.
shapes
Yeah,
from early on, and it runs super well, and it's just fun.
splendid. I should keep that. Let's keep that in my mind. Any other 2017 stuff? Get it off your chest. Anything from this year at all?
Well, not this year, but I've been playing obviously Sea of Thieves, but I can't talk about that.
Oh, you're right.
That's for next year.
Under embargo, is it?
Yeah, that's under NDA at the moment.
Okay.
But that's obviously as dumb as you remember from EGX.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty good.
But that might be the game that finally gets all of us online simultaneously, because even Dan, he of fake promises and
Here comes the diss dad while he's not here. It's like,
yeah, absolutely. But you know, he has. It's fair to say, and I think he will agree with us. He has a tendency of being like, "Yeah, this multiplayer game seems really cool." Like, 'cause he bought Splatoon and stuff as well, and it's like he's never played that game. Like,
well, not online.
no,
I mean,
he never
probably
played
has.
with us either. And you know, there was a brief moment where we thought we might get some Battlefield on, and yeah, it totally didn't. And even for a while, when Battlefront looked like it might be okay this year, before we realised what it was.
Well, that one.
You know, there was a moment where
that one could have happened.
Yeah,
Because Dan likes Star Wars a lot.
yeah, I guess. But Sea of Thieves, he seems genuinely hyped for.
I don't know. I think once he finds out more of how the game actually plays and what it's like, I'm not sure he will be.
Why?
Because I don't think Dan is going to agree with that kind of like
Aimlessness?
yeah. Well, the aimlessness and like the style of first person action that represents. Well, not
But
first person.
I think him, like a lot of us, is looking for like the next Left 4 Dead style experience that we can all sort of get into, right? Because we got into Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, and well, more the first than the second, but we got into that in a big way, right? And I hope he's looking for one of those again, because I don't know, Sea of Thieves might be that, but just way more open ended and way more replayable. That's my hope.
Maybe. We'll see.
Also, I kind of want Rare to make a good game.
Or whatever part of Rare still exists.
Yeah. I want to see them put something out that everyone just agrees and says, yeah, alright, Rare. It's not Connect Sports. Booyah.
It's hilarious.
Okay. I assume you're playing. I don't know. You can't tell us, but like, if you went in, you'd be Xbox, though, wouldn't you? Oh, but it'd be crossplay, right?
Oh
no, we don't. I guess we
but
don't know. Yeah,
because it's buy anywhere, isn't it?
yeah, it's play anywhere for sure.
So presumably they do it because they did it with Forza and stuff. So I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, because like if we did it, obviously we'd have to go PC for us lot anyway. But having an Xbox crossplay would be good. And given that what Phil Spencer has been talking up a good game about crossplay of late, that would be a cool thing for them to do. If it wasn't too disadvantageous to console players versus
I don't
PC
see why
players.
it would be.
It doesn't seem like that sort of game where that would be.
No, I can't see that being an issue.
No. From what I know of it so far, I'm with you. But yeah, cool. No. Like, so you really haven't been that invested in games this year? Is this what you're telling me? Like,
haven't
you're
at
invested
all.
in next year?
I haven't really played anything this year that I can remember. I'm sure I have, but I don't remember any of it.
What have we played this year?
Well, we've still got 2 weeks to think about that.
Yeah, I have got a proper list of everything we've covered so far. But, yeah.
It's just not been that great a year for me, I don't think.
What? You need a Switch.
I don't really like Nintendo games, though.
What?
Oh, that's always been clear.
I did buy a 3DS this year, though.
I mean, sure, you might as well at this point.
Oh, you did get
Let's
one.
get the
didn't you?
occasional
Yeah.
game.
What are you playing on it?
I've been playing Puzzle and Dragons,
Oh, right.
Yep. Classic option.
the Mario version. I'm not very good at that game.
I tried the demo, just couldn't really. I didn't understand. I just didn't understand.
I don't know about the main Puzzle and Dragons, but I've been playing the Mario version, which is like a simplified version.
Yeah. I hear the main one has got like a meta game and the story, like more of a story anyway.
But it's quite fun. It's just like a match-free puzzler kind of thing, but weird because you can just move it around indefinitely for like 10 seconds or whatever it is to try and match more shit up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I vaguely remember that now.
And I'm not very good at that. I don't really know what the strategy is. Is it? I can never work out whether it's best to try and line more stuff up but not match anything for a turn or two. And then go for a massive combo.
Leave it for a while and then go for a biggie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't worked that one out yet. It's quite a difficult one.
Big in Japan.
It's quite fun though.
Pokemon Picross.
Yeah, I've been playing a bit of that. I'm not very good at that either. I'm too slow is the problem. Like by the time I finished the puzzle, I was like, well, I'm never going to get the target time.
Oh, really? Jeez. They're quite
Yeah,
limited.
but that's just something you get
You
better at.
do get a lot better. The training is nice for some of that. Like,
It's
even
like-
though there's not like.
It's just
strictly-
when you get to the levels where it's like you have like a 4, 5, 2, 1 or something, and it's like, well, it could be that, it could be that, it could be that. Like I get to a point where there's no definite column I can fill in.
Oh, but that's the trick with that game. You never have to guess in theory.
No.
It's like if you've done it all right, there are ways of figuring it out.
The trouble is that, like, on the ones where it seems like there's not many options,
That usually means you've missed something.
you have to be like really careful. You have to like count across the whole
Yeah.
line and be like,
Yeah.
if I go from the left to the right, these are the squares, and then count it back the other way and see where they overlap, and then
Yeah.
that's where you'll go.
If I shift it to the other worst possible case, like, is there any overlap? And it's like if that's true, then
and
then those have to be filled
that's the
in.
thing
I
that
get
can
that,
take the
yeah.
longest amount of time.
But it's like,
Yeah.
I don't always get it right when it's like awkward numbers and shit. And
Of course,
Well,
Pokemon Picross has the ability where you just eventually get better Pokemon.
yeah,
and
you just use the abilities and just cheat.
that's what I need.
Just cheese your way through it. Yeah.
As soon as you get anything that has large, giant square reveals, and you're just like, I'm just going to solve 2/3 of this puzzle in one shot.
I'm at the
Yeah.
point where it's like 20 by 20 or something,
Yeah, the big ones.
and it's like I don't have any Pokemon that have 20 by 20 abilities.
No, that
That
happens
definitely
for quite-
sucks for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I can't actually do this puzzle because I don't know. I keep messing something up somewhere.
Hmm.
And it's just like,
Oh yeah,
I
that's
can't
the
bother with
worst.
it.
Like if you
I just-
tapped something wrong,
Yeah, and I just can't.
finding your mistake.
Yeah, you
Is-
just give up and start over at that
Yeah.
point.
I got fed up of keep redoing it and still failing it. So I was like, right, fine, I'm done with that. I'm just bad at it.
Fair enough.
I like it. Like I really like Picross,
It's
but I just
clever.
can't get. There's just the levels that are just awkward, where there's no like really, where it's not. You have to do all the counting across, and
Hmm.
it just gets a bit much.
I think there's a hump, and it's mostly solvable with Pokemon.
Yeah, and that's probably why that game is like that, because they were trying to get you to buy
Get
the
buy
currency.
stuff, yeah.
But you never have to.
Well, if you're willing to spend a long time playing that game, you never have to.
No.
Because I spent a very long time playing that
You've
game.
100%ed it, haven't you? Like,
Well, not really 100%. Like, there's some... And there's actual stuff that's only unlockable, like the secret worlds and stuff, or whatever. You have to
yeah.
buy the currency to get to. Keys, or pens, or whatever the fuck that thing was that you get. Mega pen.
It was the Mega Pen. You could. Was it the? You could. Oh, it was the Evolution Pen or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Mega Evolutions.
Yeah,
Giant pain in the ass.
and there was was it the whole Mega World?
Yeah.
Was that a buy-in, or could you? I can't remember. I think you bought that with currency, right? The Mega World,
You could get into it, but I don't think you could progress very far
right?
before you actually needed to buy things.
Put money in.
I don't even remember though. It's been a while since I played that.
Free to start,
Yep.
or free to keep going. Actually, it's a proper free-to-play game. Though.
It's free to get a decent amount of gameplay out
A
of it.
really
Mm.
decent amount of gameplay for free, to be honest. Get the puzzles. Get them puzzles.
So what else has been happening in our games?
Shall we move on to someone else?
Yes.
Skip's done.
I just can't
For
think
his
of
year
anything
ago.
I've played.
All right. We'll see what you come back to. Do you want me to go or do you want Zach to go? Wait, you've been doing something new? Let's let Kippers decide. Who goes next?
Let's go for Zach.
Okay. Well, this is a game that we should all play, clearly, but Rocket League is doing its Christmas thing.
Oh yeah, the new update.
Yep. Get some free keys, or decryptors, so
Oh,
they're
do you?
not technically keys.
Can't you only get like 2 or something? Right?
You can get 5 this time.
5, is it?
So
Okay.
more than the 3 you could get at Halloween.
So what's the deal? What's the stuff?
Same thing as Halloween. You get Snowflake as a currency and then unlock the Christmas items and 5 decryptors and an infinite number of crates.
Is there any like modes, or is it just the return of ice hockey? Or
Well, for some reason they decided to put the wintry versions of the maps into ranks. So
Oh, okay.
now you just have the weird look. Particularly the one that looks like an ice rink, and it's just like, oh, it's just a normal, it's just a normal court.
yeah, it doesn't play differently.
No, but yeah, so that's pretty much it. And the Christmas items are slightly more elaborate this year now that they've got to the point where they're doing more elaborate things. Weirdly, though, the thing that I found strange from, I guess it was the update before the Christmas update, where they put in a new crate, and the new crate had some new goal explosions in. And as with the first one, where there was the skull,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm going to see that constantly from now on, forever, because everyone wants the fucking skull. Weirdly, in this new crate, it took me like more than a week and like 3 or 4 solid sessions of playing Rocket League before I even saw a single person using either of the 2 new goal explosions. Which either means they're incredibly rare drops out of that crate, or people don't really care about crates in Rocket League any longer.
The only goal explosion I see frequently is the Dab Spectre.
Yeah, but that was Halloween though, so I think that was a relatively common drop out of that crate. But yeah, fucking Dab Spectre. But I didn't
Whatever it's actually called. Dab Brave.
But I didn't see either of the new... I think I still haven't seen one of the 2. The one that they advertised on their update page, the Double Dragons explosion. I don't think I've actually seen that. I've seen the polygon explosion, which is kind of cool.
One to get.
Yeah, maybe. But I've only seen that like once.
I've not been like super enamored with any of the gold explosions so far. I thought it would be a cool thing, but it's like none of them have really. I've looked at and gone, I have to have it.
Some of them are kind of. I mean, I don't mind like the fireworks. That's
Yeah,
just
sure.
like a kind of an upgrade to the ring
Yeah.
explosion.
I guess I like the grunt birthday party
Of course.
because it's that sound, right? The Ray. It's a classic.
Yeah. But yeah, you get your 5 free decryptors and unlock basically just skins, as always, because crate drops. That's how that works. I've got like 4 out of the 5 drop. I've used 4 decryptors and I've got 4 out of the 5 skins that can drop out of the crate. So I'm going for all of the skins, apparently.
I'm hesitant to say it, but it's still the way you should do loot boxes, is like Rocket League, really.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was always going to be like that because it was like they never were going to. It
How
was
could they
always
do-
going
how
to be
could they-
cosmetic,
Yeah, how could they do it?
and there was no progress.
Well, I kind of like the way Overwatch does it better.
Yeah, Overwatch is fine. I know some people still have their own gripes about how Overwatch does it, and in fairness,
Because
they've kind of made good on some of the problems I think people had with it last year, right? Because this year Overwatch hasn't been as good this year simply because they've been repeating events from last year, right? There hasn't been too many new exciting things happening, and so like when they repeat Summer Games and when they repeated Halloween, at least all of the old stuff came back. But better than that, they made the currency cost of the old stuff
the same as normal stuff.
Yeah, way cheaper. So if you really wanted to buy into that stuff, your dupe money was weren't burning a ridiculous amount of dupe money to get the Mercy Witch skin, which everyone wants. And I conveniently got this year for like out of the box, and it's great.
I like the way Overwatch does it because when you get a crate, you don't have to freaking buy a key to open it.
Yeah,
True. Yeah, you don't just get an inventory full of
Because
crates.
that's what I hate about CS:GO and
I mean, Rocket League
League.
is rotten with that as well.
yeah, it's like
you
you
just fill up
get
the
crates, but you can't open them unless you pay.
Yeah,
I hate that. Like I'd like to just be able to open them. Like, and if I want more, then let me buy more.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
mean,
like don't just give me crap to fill my inventory. I know that's part of the point, right? To be like,
It
you've got
makes
all
you
this,
encourages you to buy them.
you've got all this potential, man.
I mean,
And in a weird way, it's like a limit to like some people's overspending problems in a very bad way, admittedly, because you get tons of crates. But you could say like
you
actually,
could actually open all the crates you have, and then you can't buy
can't-
more
and
crates.
then there's no point buying more decryptors. Yeah.
Yeah, theoretically. Still a fucking lot of crates though.
The-
My inventory
my-
has like 500 crates in it.
Yeah.
Which makes it really awkward when I'm trying to mash like uncommon items together because the crates count as uncommon.
Yeah,
So it
I
just
mean-
feels lit.
Rocket League solves itself with having that being like a filter. Right, you can put that in somewhere else. Like, here's your crate collection.
Well, Rocket League has an option to toggle them off.
Does it?
In the options, when you can hide crates and they don't appear in your inventory and they don't appear on the drop screen, but you still get them.
still get them. I need to turn that on. That would be way nicer.
Yeah, probably.
I did not know that existed. That's cool.
So there's that. And then, I played more fucking Factorio. I finished, more or less finished my fucking third redesign of this base, but about midway through doing the building part, after I'd finished all the designing part.
This is your Cloudland or whatever it is.
Yeah, C-block.
C-block.
Once I'd got about halfway through building this thing after I'd done all the design work, I was already realising, like, things I'd done wrong and how I'd do version 4 better, and I was thinking about, like, the new designs that are going to be happening. But that's so, like, the way C-block is progressing, for me at least, is, like, the designs that I've done at this third tier have been all about getting the like different kinds of metal plates on a belt, running into my base, and then I'm going to use that to make a new science lab that's going to basically let me research most of the science. But the trouble with C-block is that the real end goal is these incredibly long, like, ridiculously resource heavy sciences, because typically I'll design a lab setup that does like one science pack per second, and that's like normal. That's more, well, it's enough for like a regular game of Factorio. But then the science that C-Block adds, one science pack a second, is going to take like 35 hours to do one research. It's like, that's just not, you want to scale that up. So now I'm because that's really the problem with my third design of this base, is I've built it like I would a regular Factorio factory, and not really considering the fact that because I'm making everything out of nothing because it's C-block, I should just be scaling everything up and individualizing it all so it's all like each thing builds everything from nothing within a constrained unit rather than trying to belt things around and stuff.
I see. So like like each particular task should be its own completely separate factory, effectively.
Yeah. I think that would probably be better, but then that does require you to scale everything up a lot more because you're basically duplicating everything in individual segments. Like you don't just have the part of your factory that makes sulfuric acid and then you pipe it out. You have each individual part of your factory has its own little mini version of that. So yeah, I don't know. It's still, but on the other hand, I might not continue playing C Block much longer because a new version of Factorio actually came out.
Oh,
0.16 has arrived. Although apparently I might not be able to play it yet because there's what some people consider a bug, but may not be a bug about like belt compression, like how many items you can get on a belt, because it's all weirdly like you almost say physics based, sort of. Like the items have a specific size, and then the inserters put them on the belts, but they don't like go into a slot on the belt or anything. They just go wherever the inserter puts them. So if there's a gap that's smaller than the width of the item, you can't put anything in there, and then that reduces the total throughput of that belt because there's like a tiny gap, and like the inserters are leaving gaps all over the place. So belt compression becomes a problem, and they've kind of patched out one of the ways that you used to be able to fix that. And now you can't compress belts as easily, and everyone's kind of pissed off. Like, now I have to redesign my factory with this unnecessarily complicated way to fix this problem, but now that's the only way you can do it with this patch.
So why? I guess is the bigger question.
The main reason that happened was because behind the scenes, they redid the programming of belts. So, like, belts become, like, instead of each individual tile of a belt in programmatically behind the scenes, like an entire straight line of belt becomes like one object essentially. Okay, so it doesn't have to calculate.
So it's an efficiency thing.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to calculate so much. But then that's kind of messed up the like side loading and like inserters putting stuff onto the belts. So they might fix it, or they might come up with some other solution. Because really, the main way that you used to solve the compression option was a bug in itself. Where if you used an underground belt and had an inserter put an item onto the underground belt, for some reason that it caused the inserter to always be able to put the item down. It would just like shove the other items out of the way. Oh, right. Like it would temporarily stop the flow to insert the thing in. It's that was technically a bug, but it allowed you to fully compress the belt. So now people are like, well, you could just make it so the inserters can do that naturally. Like then you wouldn't have to worry about having the underground belt bug.
Right, yeah.
But maybe that makes it too easy, or maybe it makes it too complicated, or maybe that's hidden information that you shouldn't actually know or care about, or whatever. But the big thing that's changed in 1.6 is the train generation has actually changed. And also the train graphics have been updated to high res.
Ooh, nice.
But yeah, the train graphics have been updated, the train generation algorithm has been changed, and they've introduced cliffs! As if, like in Command and Conquer.
Oh right.
As in, like, you know, there's just like
the weird hills that aren't really hills.
Yeah, hills that don't actually have any high height technically, but they're just convenient obstacles.
They just look like hills.
Yeah, they just look like terrain elevation.
Bits of rock.
Yes, bits of rock. But that should make a fairly big difference. But again, that's another thing that people are like super divided about because all it's doing is just making it less convenient to build your factory.
Yeah.
But then
that's all that game is, really, isn't it? Just like
solving the problem.
Creating new problems.
Because that's what I was thinking. I was like, so obviously that's going to create issues of like routing stuff. But then the trouble is that the main thing that would be inconvenient to me is railways. Because when I'm building a railway in Factorio, I'm using a blueprint that's basically just got two straight rails going one way or the other, and I'm just stamping that down as I go along to wherever I go, and then like I make junctions and angles and bits and stuff. Whereas now with cliffs, it's like I have to be building it all individually.
You have to get creative every time.
Yeah, and it's just like that's just a big inconvenience.
Well, unless you can blueprint to the various hill tiles that end up.
I'm not sure it's as tiled as that. I think it's like quite.
It's a little more organic
procedural.
than the CNC stuff. You mean?
Yeah,
right.
But then, of course, the counter-argument to that is they've also introduced what they call cliff explosives that just let you demolish the cliffs.
Oh, interesting.
But then it's like, so
So then surely you just do that.
yeah, and then it's like, then you just do that, and also it's still another step to the
Yeah.
process of building a straight rail. You have to go in there, throw the cliff explosive at the cliff to get rid of the cliff, and then blueprint the thing.
But it also doesn't make a great deal of sense because
Yeah.
you're breaking the whole height map.
Yeah, the whole theoretical
Illusion,
map.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like, it's a big, like, some people like it, some people don't. Of course, you can just turn them off. It's an option in the map generator to generate with or without cliffs and how much cliffs. So I guess it's an option, so that's fine. You don't have to worry about whether you like it or not. You can just choose whether they exist or not.
I think I should have just not. If they were going to do cliffs, the cliff explosion thing.
Yeah, get rid of that.
That seems like a dumb idea.
Yeah. But
Unless they go all in and start actually modelling height
yeah,
properly.
that too. Or just, instead of the cliff explosives, do some other mechanism to deal with cliffs. Like, if you could have your railways just go up a ramp on a cliff or something, so you could build over them.
Yeah, I guess.
Because then you'd still have the problem
it's
of obstructing your factory, but it wouldn't
Yeah.
be so inconvenient for doing your actual logistics part.
Still a solution ultimately, but just one you have to weigh up. Like, does it make sense to build a bridge effectively, or
Yeah. And it would probably look really weird,
yeah?
because the train track would essentially be a straight line, except it wouldn't. It's the same problem that you have with underground belts at the moment, because you still place the start of the underground belt and the end of the underground belt, and they're in line, but because of the cliff, it looks like it's on a slope, but it's not, but it looks like it is.
Right. Yeah.
The classic tile-based fake cliffs problem.
Yeah. They're not actually climbing.
No. So yeah, there's that. I haven't really played this new version at all because I've still been in Seedlock, but that's fine. Because it sounds like I'd be really annoyed by the belt compression thing, because side loading onto belts is important to me.
To your designs.
My designs.
Yeah. Is that it? Just Factorio?
Mostly, yeah, I think so.
How droll.
Yep. What have you been playing? Mostly Splatoon.
Well, last weekend,
Yeah.
because Splatfest happened again, and so I got properly involved and played way too much. Not enough to get me to be a.
Not actually enough even then.
Yeah, not even then. I put, I don't know, like loads of hours into it, and yeah, still didn't become. What was I don't even remember what the film versus books. That was it. I still didn't become a film king.
It seems like
I'm
that
still a
last
film
level
champion.
is like way longer than the other ones, because like King the Champion is relatively easy.
It goes like 10 points, 20 points, 50 points, 99 points, and that 99 is tricky because and I ran out of time basically before Splatfest ended in the end, and it was because I needed one more. I just needed one more game. If we had won the last game, I'd have made it, but we lost it, and it's like, so I just needed one more game, and it ended during the matchmaking, and it's like, no!
How many snails does that count for, that difference in level?
I actually don't know.
Oh, well.
Because I haven't made it to King, I don't know what you get. I know if you're a champion and you're on the winning side, you get 16 snails.
Right.
We've never talked about snails, I suppose. The sea snails are the thing that let you do like extra stuff with your gear, basically, if you want to upgrade it beyond its purchased state. Or what else do they do? Is it just that slot adding?
It's the re-roll, right? You can re-roll the slots.
Oh, the
without
immediate
wiping them.
re-roll. Yeah,
Yeah.
which that seems a bit of a waste. Just
Yeah.
scrub and earn it.
I've
Yeah.
been seeing a lot of, the times when I've played Splatoon recently, I saw like quite a few of the people in the plaza are now turning into the buy my clothes, where they've got
right.
clothes with very specific stat setups on them,
Oh,
and because
interesting.
obviously that gets voted up, those automatically come into your plaza. So it's like if you want to get clothes which will have like all of the same buff on every slot or whatever.
I have been seeing more players that over the Splatfest that had that set up. Like they'd had clothes with all one stat. for
Probably
some
because they
reason.
bought them off those guys.
Yeah, I saw quite a few people that had like nothing but run stat, for instance, and they didn't look like they were running that much faster because it's
No, it doesn't
diminishing.
make that much difference.
Splatoon has the diminishing returns.
I did see
system, right?
that
So
video of Splatoon 1 where it was like an entire team that had all run speed,
Mm.
but they were playing on like one of the ranked games where it was like get to the middle first and that's basically
and
how you win.
that helps. Yeah. But yeah, Splatfest, I really liked the special map this time. I thought it was quite interesting with the central turntable that was always like, it was like a circle, but half of it was always being spread with each team's colour. So like you'd have a purple side being spread by one side, and you'd have a green side being spread by the other side. And so the last few seconds of the game, it was always, how much of this circle can we cover with the enemy? Like, just get the enemy's colour out of it to gain a few extra %. Or you could farm it effectively for special, because you'd always be scoring points by shooting the side that was always being spread with the enemy team. But then they had some neat ideas, which I actually quite like, would make sense for some of the actual levels. Like you'd have a your team colour spreader near your base, for instance. So there was always ink to swim through to get out of the base. And things like that, and would also prevent people from getting up the slope to your base.
Well, sure,
easily. You could still spray it, obviously, but because there was a thing moving back and forth, it really wouldn't last any amount of time.
Is that necessary? I don't know.
I don't know. It was another way of preventing people getting too close to your spawn, I suppose.
I suppose the spawn protection mechanics. I mean.
But they're
at a certain
there.
point, you could just put the force field wall further away, and that still solve the problem to some extent. Except not really, because it's the design of the level around the spawn that's the actual thing that determines how easy it is to get out of your spawn.
Yeah, but I enjoyed that level. I thought it was a neat one. It was a bit less mental than the one they did at the last Splatfest with the multiple rotating walls, and they weren't spreading, but that was they were effectively two massive rotating doors to get to each half of the level, which was a bit tricky to manage. You couldn't really escape. If you went into your opponent's half, getting back was risky, or trying to get back could be risky. So it was a good Splatfest. Enjoyed that. Played a lot of it. Splatoon's amazing. I know they've added the new mode since this weekend or something, but I haven't played it yet. Sounds a bit mental. We'll give that a go. What, the clam ball? Some clam blitz? Power clams? Something about clams.
Yeah.
Get your clams. Splatoon. So good. I haven't played any Mario.
Well, it's because you finished it quite right, and then you just stopped because you had other things to do.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to finish Hellblade, which I did.
Let's just hope that Dan has played Mario.
Yeah, let's hope he's finished it by
He's
the
got
end of the
2
year.
more weeks.
Yeah.
Before we have to talk about the spoilers.
So I finished Hellblade. I don't really have a great deal more to add to it than what I said before. It continues to be exactly what you think that game is.
But we were theorising about how explicit the ending is in telling you anything at all.
I mean, it's not explicit, but you do start to piece together what's going on yourself, kinda. There is a moment in it where you're like, I think I get what's happening. I think I understand the nature of Senua, at least. And it gets more intense as it goes on. I'll say that much. It's some of the boss fights get way more tough. I think some of the ending style has borrowing a little bit from what DMC did. So obviously Ninja Theory have learnt a few tricks along the way, and they're like, we can do some of that again. I thought, the writing was just properly good as it ratchets up. There is one mechanic that I think doesn't work so well, and that's one of these stay out of the shadows type things.
Right.
A bit like the old Gears of War. Don't be in the dark. The krill are going to eat you. Except that it's a representation of panic or something. And I think that's one of the weaker elements of Psychosis that's represented here. And it's also I don't know, even though there's a featurette in the game as well that talks about how very, very good actually about what, how they represented the psychoses and the process they went through to create the game as it is. And it's worth a watch, but only watch it once you've finished the game.
Right.
Because it's spoilerific. And it also does explain some of their thinking behind the storyline and how it plays out as it is. So it's quite useful as so I'd already had my own ideas with it, and then watched this thing, and it's it cemented some of what I thought a little strongly, and it's okay, so I was along the right lines, and then filled in some gaps. It's it's a pretty good watch in that respect, and it's a very strong game, very strong. It's pretty great, and I hope this carries. I do hope it carries on the trend of this. You can make smaller games for a smaller price with a AAA budget or not actually that much of a budget, but make it look that, and give it that quality level, and it'd be good. Admittedly, Ninja Theory are quite, they're a long-running, super talented studio. This might not be possible for many people to do what they do, but I hope we see more of it, because otherwise it's going to be another 3 or 4 years till we see another project like this.
I wonder how well it's sold.
Enough to be profitable, so they can fund another Ninja Theory themselves can do this again. So it's whether or not it's made them lots of money, who knows? But it's at least this game has been sustainable. Let's put it that way. So for them, it's a success. Yay! Yay! Could not be happier. They deserve it. It's good. It's good.
What? Did they make the last DMC? Was it?
Ninja Theory made DMC before this. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was properly
DMC
good.
is amazing. Properly great game.
People hated on it because it was DMC.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like the others. But
I do not understand the sort of like why people dislike DMC. Yeah, it's a retelling and a very different retelling of the original. Or nothing like the original. It's a different take on it. It's a great take.
It's probably because it'd be it'd be a more extreme version of people liking Dark Souls or Bloodborne. It's like they're similar, but it's like not really the same style of gameplay. Even it's the same style, but it's not like the original DMCs were super hard and precise, and you had to do it in a very specific way. Whereas this is more just like a third-person action game of the modern age, where you just hit buttons and shit blows up.
Kind of, but it was difficult.
It was difficult, but not as difficult, and that's where you get those hardcore people who are super fans of that first game because it was so hardcore, and then it's just like, now it's baby mode.
The first Devil May Cry it's an awkward game to play. I came into it fairly late. I have played the first Devil May Cry, but I didn't get very far into it. I didn't necessarily understand why it was such a thing, and I still kind of don't. Like, why the original was important. And a lot of people hold that first Devil May Cry game in very high regard. Like, that's the one. Like, that's the game. Devil May Cry 2, I think, isn't seen in quite such a good light. And I don't know about the others. I just don't know at that point. But DMC, what a game.
Yes.
What a soundtrack as well. Oh, it's just a quality thing. Like, anyone who doesn't like that game, you're just wrong. You're just wrong.
Yeah, I love that game.
I think I might have been my pick for the Game of the Year that year it came out, but got overruled by something. Quality thing.
That was probably one of my favourite games in the last few years, actually.
Genius. Yeah, you played a lot more than I did, so you got a lot further down there.
I did all the stupid modes, or a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like the one-hit kill on you, but not them.
Oh, Hell and Hell.
Yeah.
I think I was going through Heaven and Hell last time I played it, which obviously trivialized a lot of the
that
big
was super
fights.
Easy.
Yeah. But it was kind of fun anyway. Because you could still get it wrong in the more manic ones. And I'd be like, I've got to do this whole section again. Yeah, what else have I been playing? I've been playing Flinthook. Is the other game I started. I really wanted them to make a good game, Tribute Games, because they had such a strong... I don't know if it was their first outing, technically, but Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, what a game that was. And that was these guys, it was like quality pixel art, quality music by Anna Managuchi, quality...
Two things, which was maybe not anything to do with the development studio.
I mean, Tribute are very pixel art. Everything they've done has always been pixel art.
Yeah, but the artist for Scott Pilgrim was hired in, right?
To help. I don't think he did the pixel art, but because the comics weren't pixel art or anything like that. Sure, but they used his style for some of the look of that game. Sure. Yeah. All had to be animated and produced that way. It was a quality piece of game. Love that thing. And then they made Mercenary Kings, which we're yet to play, admittedly, ourselves, but the reception of it was very, very lukewarm.
Well, the problem with Mercenary Kings was the content issue, not necessarily anything to do really.
Well, and the actual structure of how like bosses move around the level.
Well, that
and you
was
have to go chase them.
that was an
time
element
limit
of
and-
the content issue. It's because
Yeah.
of the lack of the content that they had to implement that system to kind of spread the content out more, essentially.
And make it harder to actually complete the missions unless you're playing in co-op.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are elements of that game where I can see why people have problems with it. And I think they might have done something else since then, but I don't remember it. Anyway, Flinthook. Buy them. Still pixel art. Still kick-ass chiptunes. Sort of chiptunes. You know, sort of chip instruments with like proper drum backing and stuff like that. It's a good sounding game. They've made a roguelike. A roguelite, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to describe this without making comparisons to Rogue Legacy because
Because it looks quite similar in some ways.
it is structurally very similar. But instead of having one big run like Rogue Legacy does with a goal to get to the end of it, possibly doing a little boss fight on the way. You know, like isn't Rogue Legacy you don't have to do all 4 bosses in one run. You
Well,
just
in Rogue
once
Legacy-
you've done it once, you can skip that boss the second time. But
Well, yeah, you just have to do all 4 bosses once, and then on the theoretically on your last run, you don't have to do any run. You just go through the big
Just
door
go
at
to
the
the
entrance
boss.
and go to the boss.
Yeah. But yeah, so Flinthook's a little difficult in that it's separated into mini runs. There's like 5 courses, effectively, of increasing length as it turns out. Each with the same boss at the end. Like, so you're going after bounties, effectively. The bounty is your course, and that defines what the levels look like. It defines their difficulty level, and to some extent, it defines the variants of the rooms you could find along the way. So the basic premise is you get you're in the first bounty, for instance, you have to visit 3 ships in order. You have to get through the ship, get out. But at the start of each, like, you get a ship selection at the start, so you can see like some tags about what levels it's going to generate. It's
Right.
like, oh, this has got tougher enemies. This has got a librarian if you want to get some lore to bring back. Or this is a cornucopia. There's going to be lots of food, so health might not be a problem on this level. Always avoid the ones that say danger room. Those rooms are evil. Yeah, so you can see what's coming up, but you can make a choice, basically. And there's a general difficulty rating associated with it as well.
I mean,
So you can...
it's sort of. I mean, the Rogue Legacy comparison there would be like, what child you pick? Like, basically, you're picking your abilities, except in this one, it's picking the level that's countering your abilities.
Yeah, so actually, maybe I should go back a step, because instead of having the ability, it has a perk system. So you don't level up your character, per se. You earn currency to earn more perk slots, and your XP gives you more random perks from a card pool that you could potentially assign to yourself.
Right.
So you build up the possible perks you could get, and your perk limit slowly increases. So if you want more health, you have to attach that as perks. If you want slightly different gun behaviors, you attach that as perks. You want to come out of you want to waste a slot and give yourself more XP, so you gain more potential perks next run. You can do that if you want. And eventually, I think you'll get things like, oh, do you want to get more gold and stuff like that, and things like that. So you can customize your loadout basically, but that game's hard. Like, whichever way you look at it, that game is properly hard. Out of the 5 bounties, I can't finish the second one, and I think it's partially due to how that thing controls. That's its hook, is how it controls.
Yep.
So it's like a 2D run and gun, primarily, but on the right trigger, you always have your hook, and the levels are filled with like these yellow diamonds, and you can hook your hook to any of those to go flying and like head in that general direction. So you're zipping about the level, trying to run and gun with one stick, which is a problem. While zipping around in the hook, trying to avoid what sort of boils down to bullet hell style levels, really. There'll be stuff flying around, you got to zip, a bit like Rogue Legacy, you got to zip through the gaps while shooting the thing, and when you shoot all the things, all the doors open and you can travel around, and then it's just like a classic roguelike, follow the map, go to the rooms, get your treasures, buy more perks as you go, carry on, get to the boss, hopefully win. And that's it. That's its structure. That's what that game is. Like, it's the problem I have with it is that it's just not that much more interesting than that. Like, in terms of a roguelite, I think it's light on the secrets so far. It's light on what you can find elsewhere. And admittedly, I think I'm quite early in it, so I don't know for sure. My voice is going a bit. I don't know for sure if that's all this game has, but it doesn't feel. I don't know. You know, very early on in Isaac that there's a great deal of what the hell is that? What
All
the
the
hell is
different
this?
items,
Yeah.
and like weird secrets that unlock when you do a run.
Yeah.
that change all the next run.
Exactly, yeah, and that's I think that's a big trick to those games being replayable, and I'm not getting the sense that this has that. Like everything's quite predictable. There's a room with treasure in it. There's a room with shop in it. There's a room with a fight in it.
I mean, technically that is predictable in Isaac as well.
Sort of, but I don't think there's much more than that, right? You can see all the items. There's not so much of a here's a thing you can do. What is it? It's going to be random. It's not that random. It's not that balls out crazy. And maybe some people want that. Maybe some people want it a little bit laid back. Like I even think like Enter the Gungeon is way more random. There's way more possibility.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was because Rogue Legacy wasn't that, and that's why. Because it was like Rogue Legacy, the only way that changed over time was you were building up your personal skills, but then you were also actually unlocking the tech tree.
Your guy was getting stronger constantly, yeah.
And that's like a different way of doing it rather than the Gungeon and Isaac method of like everything is random on the run and you have to build the run as you're going through it.
Yes, yeah. And I think actually that might be the other thing about Flinthook is that I think that perk tree the number of perks you can get, that the limit doesn't go very high. And so I think there's going to come a point relatively quickly where it's like, okay, I'm going to be limited now.
Well, you're going to get like stronger versions of perks you already know or something, maybe?
I mean, you do, but they cost more slots.
Well, okay. That's that is going to limit it then.
Yeah. Like you'll load it. I mean, the obvious one is like you can get like there are some improved versions that give you more for your slot, I suppose. So I've got one. You get lots of HP variants. That's like, but they'll often one of them is like spend 2 perk slots to get a +10, or you could spend 4 to get a 25, which is better than putting 2 +2s in. You know, see what I mean? So like you'll get a more powerful. It'll cost you more slots, but you'll get more out of it for spending more slots. Like the more expensive ones are more effectively.
Yeah, but you still
for their cost.
But you'll still be using up all those slots rather than just having a single one that's just more powerful.
Yeah. So that's its balance, and it's I guess. So I'm a bit worried that I'm really struggling with the boss on run 2. I can get there, but it takes you like 40 minutes to get to it. That's my other problem, I suppose, with roguelikes in general. You have to be ready for this. It's like you'll get to the boss and you'll get destroyed, and then you have to do at least half an hour's worth of work to get back to it.
Yeah.
And I find the boss in Section 2, Gold Feathers, as he's called, really tricky, and it highlights a bit of a problem I have with the control scheme. Because it's a one-stick shooter, right? But there are moments, like this boss has you're supposed to attack it from above when it's vulnerable, and there are rings above it so you can zing across. But the game has a press down to quick dive.
Right.
So I'm trying to shoot down, diving onto its head, getting hurt when I do so. And yeah, a lot of the tip guides I've seen is you also have a chrono belt, so you can slow down time. So I guess I'm supposed to slow down time, zip across him, shoot downwards to accidentally start the dive, but get a few shots off, and in just the nick of time of chrono belt, get another hook off, so I'm getting out of danger. But the amount of time you get on chrono belt is really short. It's like 2 seconds at most. So you've got to do all that really quickly, get out, and it's like I'm just hurting myself constantly. I can barely get halfway through that boss, like its health bar, before I'm just done. Even if I go into it with all my health perks and the max health out, I just don't know how I'm going to do that. Like there might be there's one gun power up I know of that adds a little bit of gravity to the shot, which might actually be super helpful.
You can just arc it in.
Yeah, but your bullets don't go. Your shot doesn't go very far either, so you have to get quite close to hurt things. And it's like I think the controls are letting it down in that respect. There is a pro mode, and I don't know what that does. Maybe it does turn it dual stick.
So, but that would completely change the game in that case.
Yeah. So I honestly don't know. And after a couple of I've done 3 or 4 runs on this level 2 bounty, and I think I'm this close to giving in the same way that I gave in Isaac, although I can understand that Isaac is way cooler. Because I just didn't put the time in to figure out where everything was, and I had so many runs of Isaac where it would just screw me that I got fed up with it.
That's the trick to Isaac.
I think I defeated Mum once. I haven't done any of the post-game extra stuff, where it, like the real game, I suppose.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Oh, I can understand why. It's a pretty great thing.
It's one of my favourite games.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, the frustration factor is too high for me.
It's kind of fun though, part of it, that you get screwed because it's just funny sometimes.
Sometimes it's hilarious.
You got like really an awesome build, then you pick up like the Cacaderm or whatever it's called, and you start launching like ridiculous explosions everywhere or something.
You just kill yourself.
Yeah. And you're like,
you press fire and like 12 bombs go out. You're like, oh shit. I mean, like, you kill yourself real quick, but it's really difficult not to die in the process.
Or you get like the explosive diarrhea or something, and you're just laying bombs everywhere. And...
Or you just completely fuck it up in a different, like when like you pick up brimstone and it combines badly.
Yeah.
You think you're getting something awesome, and it's like, oh shit, that's actually real difficult to use. I've boned myself. Gravity brimstone. It's a classic situation. As soon as it goes circular, that can cause a whole world of problems.
Gravity brimstone.
Yeah, because the brimstone is the classic laser, the big laser that just shoots across the screen after you charge it up. But you can get various things that cause gravity effects that like bend the beam in the later versions.
Around the world, isn't it?
Yeah, the tiny planet and stuff.
Yeah, tiny planet.
Weird.
That can make it. That can either make it good or really difficult to use. And when you're already using the laser and you think you're all good, and you're like, "Oh, I'm just going to pick this up. It can't possibly make this worse," and then it does, and then you're screwed. Or you're not screwed. It just makes it a lot more difficult.
It does get really mental, some of the combinations.
Yes, once they kind of made that idea the idea that it should have been, like once they got into the second DLCs and stuff, when they actually made the combinations more and actually all work in some way, that was where it got real crazy. You could build really ridiculous things, but you did have to kind of know.
Yeah, or risk the random sometimes, or some stuff you just don't know, right? There are plenty of times in Isaac where it's just like, I don't know what this is going to do.
Yeah, because if you've not got the item before, you can't check the item P or whatever to see what they do.
Unless you just go on the wiki, of course. That's the other technique to
and there are plenty of ways where you gain stuff and it is just a question mark, right? And it's like,
there's a power up that
going to be useful.
There's a power up that makes all power ups unknown or something.
Yeah,
isn't there?
you can get them.
Oh yes, I've seen that.
Completely random, where you're just, every item stand is just a question mark. You're just like, well, it's an item of some kind. I'll just get it and hope for the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Flinthook has none of this, right? I think it desperately needs some of this variation.
Yeah, that's what made Isaac great, though, isn't it? Because it's
the runs
so random every time.
The runs I'm having are already feeling too samey.
Yeah, it's just like the Flinthook is just like
it's pure
skill.
If you want that,
where you just have to get good at the patterns and do the thing correctly. If
you want that, it's exactly that. But I think for me, it's just that little bit too hard to make the lack of random feel like I'm making progress, meaningful progress for the amount of time I'm putting in. It's like, sure, I'm getting the green currency out, which lets me buy more perks or buy a permanent, XP bonus or something, or the permanent unlocks aren't all that great, and it's all that effective at the moment. Anyway, maybe I'll get more experience and I'll find something super useful. It's like, I have a permanent HP boost that doesn't rely on a perk. If that stuff starts appearing, then maybe this concept of progress starts becoming a thing again, and I can just rogue legacy my way through it and just keep running until I get more stuff. But I'm not convinced of that.
Yeah, even if that is going to happen, it's taking too long, apparently.
Yeah, it's taking too long for my patience level. Anyway, it's just not enough. I mean, I'm already seeing like that. So it does the rogue legacy thing where the rooms are like pre-made, right? But it stitches them together, but. When you start seeing, I've played enough of it that I'm seeing dupe rooms frequently enough. And it's like, occasionally, you get a variant that you've never seen before. You get one of those tags and you go, oh, we'll see what that is. And then you immediately decide, I don't ever want to pick a level with that variant in again.
It's like Vertigo in Rogue Legacy.
Yeah.
Never pick Vertigo.
Yeah.
Do it once for the laugh, and then it's like, that's just a bum thing now. Never pick that.
Yeah, that's just too much of a problem. There's things like that where it's just like, I'm never doing that. I'm never doing danger rooms if I can avoid it, because you just lose all your health because they're really hard. And they're just to be like hazard rooms, basically.
Yeah.
And actually, Flint has, I think Flinthook's none of the rooms are, some of the rooms are scrolling, but they're like limited in some way that they'll only horizontal scroll, or
Like
they'll
Rogue
only,
Legacy.
yeah, or they'll only vertical scroll, but like they're really tight in that they feel cramped. So like if there's hazards in that room and you pull and you're trying to get through it, because it's like the hooking's all momentum based, right? And it'll fling you based on the angle between you and the hook. So if you're trying to get through a gap and you get it just a fraction of a second wrong, you could be flinging yourself straight into a hazard, right?
Yeah.
And because it's momentum, there's nothing you can do about that. And in some of the vertical stages, it requires you to hook your way up, and you could fling yourself into a hazard that was off screen. And it's like, So I could remember this room layout, I suppose, eventually.
Yeah.
But it's quite frustrating. But also has some element of this is a neat idea to it. And, the sort of space pirates in wooden ships for some reason. And the music's really good. Like, I can't stress that enough. The music is quite addictive and gets stuck in your head, even if you don't want it to. It's like there are elements of the day where I'm just sat there going, I really need to get this pirate theme out of my head.
Pirate music does tend to do that.
Yeah.
For some reason.
It's the shop music, the sort of like jaunty shop music in that game just doesn't leave my brain.
Just like the eShop.
Yeah, just like the eShop, yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Or the Everybody Votes channel.
Yep.
I'm not going to do that.
No.
I guess that's pretty much it. I played Doom VFR briefly
Okay.
Oh god.
on a PSVR without move controllers. I think move controllers might be required
Does seem like it for that kind of...
because it's like aim with your face.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that works.
Aim with your face never seemed like a good idea, even before VR.
Teleport with your face. It's all about telefragging. Stumble stuff.
Oh right.
Like, get people into the stagger state and then just teleport into them and they explode. Which means you don't get those canned animations that I guess would make you very sick
Yeah.
in VR.
The
But
glory,
don't you have
glory
to do
teleport
those to
kills.
get the power, like the drops?
I don't know. I assume so, but they didn't teach me that in the tutorial stuff.
Isn't that how it works in the normal?
It does, yeah. You need to do glory kills, give you more stuff out of the corpses, more health and more stuff. But it's just a bit because things are still shooting at you, right? And so you've got this look around and teleport thing, but it's got one of those snap turns, I suppose. Again, I guess as a way of not making you feel sick, so you push left and right on the stick to snap turn like a certain number of degrees,
Right.
which takes some getting used to in itself because it's quite disorientating, like trying to work out which way you're actually now facing. But it also has like a jink mechanic on the D-pad. So you can sort of go zip, 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 and it's a very quick movement, but like in like a step.
Right.
So I guess that's how you're supposed to dodge fire, while still looking roughly at the right direction you want to shoot at. And I think it's playable, but boy, is it a learning curve. It's not a skill you immediately have. And it's also like they reuse stuff from like the areas you're going through, or clearly like they've lifted it from the main Doom game to put it in. So like there's recognizable areas, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, I know how to get around this bit because I played this bit. It's quite early on. This is level 2. But there's something about how it's presented, like how a fight starts, how the the ramp up in the original Doom was so cool. Like the fight starting, the music suddenly gets going, and it just goes, and all of a sudden you get the drop of the guitars, and it's like it all comes together just as the fight does. It's like, yeah, none of that slickness here. It's just like suddenly music, like
Okay.
presentationally it loses something, and it's and PSVR, I don't think it was designed originally for PSVR, if you see what I mean. I think it might have been designed for something with a higher resolution.
Yeah, I guess that was pretty bad.
I mean, this is... I'll be fair to it. In the setup I was playing it on at my mate's house, it was the best I've ever seen it actually do pickup, right? The tracking on the headset was the best it's ever been. We've had problems at the shows, right? I had trouble with Super Hot VR occasionally decentering me and not tracking certain parts of my head on occasion. It was a bit odd. We've had problems with it, like in those scenarios. But in this home setup, it was absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. So I'll give it its due. But the resolution, I don't think that game was designed for that lower resolution.
Yeah, it looks
Like
Things are garbage on
the
that.
crosshair alias is quite a lot, that kind of thing.
Like
It's totally fine. It plays and it runs at speed. That element of it is fine. It's just, the res was a little distracting in Doom VFR in a way that it hasn't been in the other PSVR stuff I've played.
It was like I played Gran Turismo in VR, and that looked god awful.
Oh, did it? Was that quite a big downgrade?
Well, you can only have one other car on the track for one thing.
Okay.
Because it just can't handle more.
It's very limited. From what I know, it's a very limited actual the cars and the tracks you can race. I think are limited in that mode as well. It's not like a full on. You can do all of GT Sport in VR. It's like it's a separate
thing. Yeah, and it's not great.
I mean, I think the problem with a racing game in low resolution is you're trying to look at things that are really far away. Usually, like the end of the road where the corner is.
I mean,
you're trying to visualize how far away it is and adjust your speed based on that. And if it's just a big mess of pixels,
I actually don't think that would be too much of a problem in a game at the speed, the realism speed of like GT Sport and Forza, right? Like they're not as quick for that to be too problematic.
Maybe.
Yeah, like I don't think the resolution was that bad that you can't really see that far ahead, but it's just irritating.
But anyway, that's a thing. Doom VFR.
I just don't get the whole VR thing at the moment.
Oh, Matt, I'm
not getting it.
I don't know, with how cheap Oculus got at some points this year, I might have been on the cusp of just being like,
but
I really want to play Shooty Fruity some more.
Yeah, I get that, but it's one of those technologies that it's just going to get so much better so quick.
I don't know,
or people just give up, which is
it's either going to die, or like within a couple of years you'll have like a headset that's like 10 times better than what we have now.
I hope so, because like the Vive is clearly the most technologically advanced one you can get at the moment, but it's also the most cumbersome in terms of actually setting up, like the actual way it fits on your head, the straps. Like it's not a very ergonomic device. It's like Vive 2 just needs to be. They need to take PSVR's headset design, but put it with Vive tech, and you're onto a winner. Because the PSVR is really comfortable, sits really nicely over my glasses, which both the Vive and the Oculus do not. A second iteration of this stuff would be. And now you've got like Microsoft mixed reality headsets flooding the market as well, which is like another entry level VR solution for PC. And it's like this stuff's starting to get out there, but Oculus 2 and Vive 2. There's no rumours of that at the moment. Like, really, I don't know. I mean, I've heard Vive 2 might be a thing, but there's like that it's quite a way off. I think was the last we heard.
I just don't think they're gonna. Exactly, it's either gonna die off like before that happens, or people just aren't gonna be interested enough to buy a second one.
And we're yet to really. We have the current problem at the moment with VR, where I think people are hitting the easy creativity boundary, right? In the same way that we hit with motion control and Kinect and the Wii. Doing the obvious stuff is obvious.
Yeah.
Doing anything more interesting than going beyond that point suddenly becomes really difficult.
And everyone still working out how to even deal with existing in a virtual world and having a game happen.
Yeah, and
how do you move around? How do you integrate looking with the gameplay?
The motion sickness
How do you tell people where to go, where they could be looking in any goddamn direction?
Yeah, how do you correctly direct an experience like that? Because you can't use any techniques we currently have in video games, really. You can't press Y to look at something exploding in the distance.
Yes, exactly. Not that really helped you at all in those games most of the time.
No, they were entirely optional. They were just like, you want to look at a spectacle? Press Y.
Although there have been some games that have had a thing like that is very direct. I think one of the Ninja Gaiden games had that, where you just it's like Ninja Vision, you hit the button and the camera just turns around and point you exactly where you have to go. It's like, oh look, that open door that I didn't see. Oh well, okay, I guess I'll go over there then.
That's actually kind of a neat solution to that problem in a way. Like, don't put a giant marker in the world, just, turn you where you need to go.
But it did look kind of funny if you were standing right next to your objective and you just hadn't noticed, and the camera just snaps around to it. It's like, it's here, you idiot.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. I mean, I know we haven't. None of us have played that many VR games, right? But Shooty Fruity was
Yeah, that was fun.
Shooty Fruity and Super Hot VR were the transformative moments for me, where it's just like, okay, I get why this feels great, because both of those games just felt amazing to play.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I'd probably get bored of Shooty Fruit after like a couple of hours.
Yeah, maybe. But in a weird way, because it's like a physical game, like there's a physical skill to learn. Like, you know, you have to relearn how you point guns and things and actually be accurate rather than pretending to be a John Woo film. There's, in some respects, like VR and the motion control thing in general has, in some ways, more scope for making a simple game feel rewarding as your own personal physical skill improves, right? But the games have to be very carefully designed to achieve that.
Just doesn't seem worth it for me.
I do want to know. I haven't done a driving game in VR, so I kind of want to know if I've got the sickness legs to do like.
Well, I think they're
because
fine.
like Dirt Rally VR, man, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best use of VR.
Or like cockpit games.
Yeah, because that makes sense.
It's
sitting.
an easy win.
Yeah,
right?
because in those sort of things, you are just sitting in something. So it makes sense.
I mean, you still get the motion problem to some degree, but like the cockpit,
weird.
The cockpit helps you because that gives you some grounding.
Like when I played Elite in VR, that was weird.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because you're still expecting to feel some momentum.
Even though in like a space game, theoretically, you shouldn't, because like, you know, inertial dampeners and all that.
Yeah.
If your mind could theoretically internalize that, but unfortunately that's not how instincts work. You see motion and you expect to feel motion, even though in the space game you technically wouldn't.
Keep talking where everyone explodes VR. That sounds cool.
That does.
I mean, that is just a logical extension of how that game works when you're not playing it in VR. Where you're not meant to look at the screen, so we're going to conveniently enclose the screen inside a helmet.
So no one can. Yeah. I don't know. I'm super sold on the idea, and I was this I was this close to thinking about Oculus, even though there are ways Oculus can do room scale now. For instance, it's a pain to set up, but you can do it.
Just wait until next Black Friday.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that. As I say, if Vive 2 ever becomes a thing, that might be the jumping in point, right?
If Vive 2 ever becomes a thing, suddenly Vive 1 will become real cheap.
Well, I guess. But it doesn't solve the comfort problem for me.
No.
Anyway, are we done with this podcast?
I guess so. It's probably been way too long again.
Yeah, it's been a bit long, yeah.
I thought of some games I played, but I'm not going to talk about them.
Oh,
Just
really?
list off some names.
Rattle them off.
I played Kingdom Hearts.
Well,
Really?
okay.
Wow, that's unexpected.
Yeah. Because everyone keeps talking about it and saying, yeah, it's great. Why have you not played this? So I played it. And
Did you play? Which one did you play?
Number 1.
Okay,
Or the first
okay.
one.
Yeah, that was
that
rough.
sounds appropriate, right? I don't think you could jump. Those
No,
games
you
never
have
sound
to-
like you can jump in like the modern ones, right? You have to play them all.
You have to understand the
Because
concept.
the reason I wanted to play it is because Kingdom Hearts 3 looked pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, some of the just that. Have you seen that Toy
Toy
Story?
Story,
thing?
right, yeah.
God, that looks like the film.
Yeah, it looks really cool. So I kind of wanted to play the others, so when it came out, I could play it. And
Have some
what the hell is
understanding.
going on.
Yeah.
But after one, I'm not sure I can put up with another one.
But you don't think that actually
Gameplay.
plays that well? Did you play through it?
I played all of one, yeah.
Oh, cool.
I finished it. I wasn't overly impressed with it.
All
It was
right.
okay. It was good. I liked.
Maybe it just
I liked
hasn't
other
aged
bits.
well.
Yeah, it's not aged well because it is old now.
Mm.
It was good, but it wasn't at the same time. Like some of it was just annoying.
Mm.
Like I liked the mini worlds because obviously
Yeah.
I liked that part of it, but that's not the entire game.
The theming of it, I guess. Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, I didn't hate it, but
Just don't see why it's such a big thing.
yeah. I'm
Disney
sure
film.
number 2 is probably better though, so that might be worth.
I mean, did you
Tackling
get
them.
what? Did you get like the PS4? Was there a collection edition? Or
Yeah, it's
something?
called 2.5 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, what
I'm
is
sure
with,
it is.
What's it with their stupid point names?
Well, no,
Oh.
this isn't good. I can't remember
Is
what
it like 2.6 Redux Rebirth re.
I can't remember what this one is called, but it comes with 1.5, 2.5, and a bunch of other games.
Do you want to know what I played like yesterday?
What?
We played Magical Tetris Challenge on the N64, which is like
Oh,
a Disney
God,
Tetris
yeah.
game. But I didn't realise my cartridge was in French.
Oh,
Because I got it off Jay and Sash, and like their kids obviously
yeah,
spoke
yeah.
French. So it's like it's one of their cartridges, and it's like it's in French, and it's like so you win, and it goes gagne like with text on screen. If you lose, it's perdu. So we were just shouting that at the end of every round.
Okay, of course.
But that, I don't know. That's all I want to say. It's quite entertaining. Just, perdu. Pumilouf. Rondoudou.
I was quite surprised at how good Kingdom Hearts 1 actually looked on the PS4 HD
Yeah,
update.
well, it didn't need a because it was mostly like Disney flat shading anyway, right? It just needed a resolution jump, and there you go.
Yeah, it looked alright.
Still works.
So that was alright.
Yeah. What do you have a rattle?
Wipeout.
Which one? Omega.
Yeah, the PS4 collection.
PS4. Yeah.
That looks pretty awesome.
It's a good looking game.
Yeah.
Really, really needs a 4-player mode that it doesn't have.
Yeah.
Because we tried that, and it's like, oh, it only goes out to 2. That's a disappointment. Like, because it renders internally on a Pro at 4K, right?
Yeah.
It's like everyone could have a 1080 screen each.
Yeah.
If it could handle that much.
Apparently it can't. So, well, you still get your full 4K rendering at 60 in 2-player split screen. Just, it doesn't let you even try 4, which I think is a real mistake.
I don't think any game does now, though, does
Very
it?
few, yeah. That do, like, split screen games in 4-player split, anyway.
Mm.
Mistake! We really want to play it.
But that game's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think their music choices aren't as good as the original
No, they're
games
not.
it's based on.
Not at all.
There's no Machine Gun by Noisia.
There's not enough of it either.
No. It's a weirdly lacking for a game series that prides itself on good soundtracks. It's strangely lacking this one.
Yeah,
It's a shame because the games it's based on have pretty good soundtracks, like HD Fury. It's a pretty great soundtrack. 2040, whatever it is,
48.
48, pretty great soundtrack on the Vita.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this obviously licensing reasons they can't just bring them all in.
No, but they could have bought more.
Yeah, or some sort of equivalent, or it just comes off feeling like it's the cheaper cousin.
Because you get bored of it quite quick.
Yeah,
The soundtrack, because there's just not enough of it.
just put a custom playlist in on or something.
Yeah. But it does look pretty amazing.
Just
Though.
turn the Spotify Best of Wipeout playlist on in the background.
Yeah, you could do that. I can't remember anything else I played though. But
I'll do. Let's wrap
there's
this
a
up.
couple more.
Yep,
Let's
let's
get
end
Pete.
this podcast.
Get Pete. Let's actually get Pete.
Let's have a pizza actually turn up at the house.
so I don't have to write a passive aggressive note on our podcast title. It's like
That's your outlet for all that kind of stuff, though.
Oh, yeah,
the
basically.
podcast blurb is where Rob bitches about things which he doesn't mention at any other time
Nope.
elsewhere on the internet or in any podcast.
It's my dumping ground for all of life's other grouse. Not necessarily house grouse, all grouse.
Okay,
My grouse house. It's not my house grouse. It's my grouse house.
and that's the end of this podcast. I'm sure there's videos uploaded to our YouTube channel, not to our website, but we uploaded Dungeon of the Endless. Was that last?
That was last week. Yep.
That was last week, not last podcast. So that's still good. I was trying to remember when that happened. I haven't uploaded another Opus Magnum yet, but I'm getting there. I'll actually remember to do it, and then that'll happen.
Micro Machines V3. It got up next week.
Yes, the first part of that.
Yes. The second part.
Yeah, the 1.5 part.
I should start making videos.
You should,
You
Kippers.
should just join us on some of them sometimes. How about that?
I could do that.
Three people bitching about a weird ass game.
Yep.
I
You should
still,
play V3 with us.
I still think it would be hilarious to record a CS:GO game with one of you on it.
Oh god, no!
That'd be so funny.
It'd be embarrassing. Shut this down.
Yeah, shut this podcast off. So anyway, look at the YouTube, go to our website, all that good stuff. And next episode of the podcast, I guess, is Game of the Year, where Dan will be back and we'll talk extensively about Mario and Zelda mainly. Woo! All right then. Bye, Internet.